capitalism. All of the gains in automation, it goes to the owner class. All you have to do is have everyone be an owner, and now suddenly any gain in automation is a gain for everybody. If you grow just one thing, it may not grow as well as if it grows with another thing. A good example of that is called the Three Sisters method of farming.
There is definitely multi-apartment buildings or multi-families that do passive design.
$100 million that they gave to Joe Rogan that they would kind of be out if they breach contract. Is that a bigger number? Or is 2 billion a bigger number?
I don't know, Zach.
It's a tough one. I
It's
know.
really hard.
And maybe comparing numbers is not Jeremy's strong suit. Gotta go kill a Jenny.
I still don't think you should kill her. I don't think it's a good idea.
It's a ghost, dude.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Bread Theory being taken over tonight by Head Theory.
Hi, hey. I love it. That was such a genius idea that you had there to call this Head Theory. I dig it.
Love it. What am I supposed to share, Zach?
Explain it. Just, give an intro.
Oh.
What are you guys doing? How is this different?
This is a hot leftist take on mental health.
Yes.
Would you like to expand on that?
Well, with this, so far we have discussed, actually diving into mental health as well as connectedness, because we can't just address sociological science and political science. We must also address how we exist. And so tonight I'm really excited for this topic you have chosen of diving into using microdosing for therapeutic purposes, because these are plant medicines that are on this earth for us to use for our development. And it's a wonderful thing. And I'm glad to see the scientific community also, having taken leaps and bounds in this in recent years too. So.
Yeah, this is going to be a great topic, I think. I mean, I've just started learning about it. Not so much. I haven't gotten that deep into it yet, per se. But I think it's important. Oh.
Hi, James.
We talk to people directly in the chat. That's part of the cool part.
Yeah, this is part of the overwhelming stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You're gonna be in charge of chat.
You're gonna feel a little bit like a circus juggler until you get used to it, but it is kind of fun.
With your mouth.
Hi, James. Sorry, Zach's in my ear trying to tell me how to do this. This is gonna be
He's
great.
like, with your mouth.
With your mouth.
Oh, goodness.
Oh.
And then you
Oh,
can
see,
start putting stuff in the chat.
I'm familiar with those kind of boxes. Okay.
That's what you want to do. That's fine too.
And she can chat too, right?
She would have to be watching the stream with another device,
Oh, my bird. So complicated.
but she can just speak. She can see the chat coming up. She can see this whole screen.
Yep. I can see the comments coming up and use my mouth.
I think that's gonna be like the quote of the night. Use your mouth.
Right. That's what she said. But to just take a quick little dive here into the subject matter. It is something that I do have personal experience with. Not just for helping hit that reset button when life gets too stressful, but also, like as I was telling you about the other day, my former doctor had prescribed me opiates from the age of 15 until the age of 30 for chronic pain. I've had multiple spinal cord injuries and stuff. And it got to the point that the opiates weren't controlling the pain. They were just becoming their own problem. And in order to kick that, I'd already seen that there was a lot of research coming out in microdosing being used for helping people kick various addictions, especially with opiates. And so I went from having fentanyl patches on my arm and taking Lortabs every 4 to 6 hours to nothing. Cold turkey, taking a week in the woods, a bag of mushrooms, and getting my fucking head right. And to be fair, like the withdrawals were minimal. I didn't really feel any of that because that was also being mediated by the way that microdosing affects the neurotransmitters in your brain. It helps your brain to produce its own normal levels of serotonin, dopamine, as well as oxytocin. And so that helps tremendously with that, which is why it's also a great tool to use for just when life gets to be too heavy
Hmm.
and you need that reset button. If you are dealing with high levels of anxiety, if you are dealing with PTSD, or like in my case, complex PTSD, um, it is such a helpful tool to be able to work through things. These plant medicines have that capability of literally showing you things that you need to address in life in order to bring that balance back into place in how you interact with life. So it's not just
Hmm.
addressing the physical factor of the neurotransmitters, but also helping you fix your stinking fucking thinking and adjust your perspective.
Hmm. In a natural way. Like,
Yes.
that's fantastic. I mean, I so I will be honest, I've never had any experience with drugs myself. It's been a curiosity of mine, but due to the types of jobs that I take, you know,
Right.
got to
Right.
keep the money coming. So, but I used to work in insurance, and uh opioids were always such a huge problem for us, right? Because they were something that was so frequently abused, and there were so many like just hills and stuff that people had to jump through to get this, and then like, oh well, you're probably going to die with it anyway because you're just going to be that hooked on it because you've just like snowballed yourself into this really shitty position, and your
Mhm.
physician isn't doing much to stop you or deter you from continuing. um
Especially if you have a chronic condition, you're looked at as okay, there's no way to like cure spinal cord damage, you know.
right.
So at even a very young age, in my late teens and early 20s, I kind of felt a little bit self-defeatist and didn't realize it at the time, but thinking, like I'm gonna be stuck on this shit for the rest of my life just to be able to function because of how much pain that I was in.
Hmm.
Um and it's ridiculous. It doesn't really help. Those things should only really be used short term for, if you have surgery or an injury or something. Absolutely not for chronic pain.
Right. And I feel like, too, I think a lot of people know whether or not they have an addictive type personality and are maybe a little extra susceptible to those kind of things and really might need someone else to intervene or help them be like, hey, maybe this isn't the best route for you. Maybe you need to try this instead.
Right. And especially when you don't even necessarily have to be taking them in amounts that would be considered abusive. You can be taking them exactly as they're prescribed and
Yeah.
still end up with an addiction to it.
Hmm.
you know um it's just because it develops a physical dependency, because when you're taking opiates or opioids, it dampens your brain's own normal production of dopamine because it
Hmm.
has this surplus external source of it, where your brain goes, okay, I don't have to make that anymore, which is why you have withdrawals when you try to get off the shit, because your brain is going, whoa, 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 wait a minute. I've been getting this supplied this whole fucking time. And now you expect me to make this neurotransmitter again? And it's like, yeah, I kind of need you to, you know?
Right.
Um, and that's one of those facets where um, it has been so helpful to so many people. There's a lot of rehab clinics as well as psychiatric clinics or other things that are now getting into using microdosing as part of the therapy there in order to help people get both their mind and their body back on track. So besides the neurotransmitters, when it comes to even adjusting stinking fucking thinking, because to be honest, okay, mushrooms, they grow on shit and they turn it into something beautiful. And it's the same thing that they do with you on that spiritual level of they take your shit and turn it
Mm-hmm.
into something beautiful. It's no longer shit if it's a pile of nutrients being used to grow from, you know?
Right.
You can put it into use, and it helps to bring clarity when looking at different parts of life where it's like, okay, there's something I can change about how I am interacting with the world around me in this manner or that manner or the other, or choices that I'm making that are causing me to be standing in my own way. Um, and it's healing across the board.
Yeah. I like kind of sidetracking a little bit because it just popped into my brain, so I apologize. But like when you look at like people with depression, anxiety, all these other disorders, and like all the prescription medications that you could get from your doctor, and mind you, most of the time this is coming from your primary care physician, not someone who specializes in mental health. You're getting all these drugs that have side effects of like suicidal thoughts and depression, and to me it's like, why the hell would you give somebody who's already suicidal a medication that will help them, that might make them more suicidal? Like that doesn't, this isn't
Right.
like a double negative situation and it fucking cancels out. Like it just
Right.
makes no sense in my brain. And then when I started hearing about like things like microdosing and stuff like that, like these people have looked like they are genuinely well, and they feel like they're in control, and I feel like that's the biggest problem with like depression and anxiety. You feel out of control.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it gets to that point where it's like, how am I to even mediate my emotions when all of them are telling me like, what's the fucking point of going on? I'd rather off myself than continue this shit. You
Right.
know, how do you even mediate that? You
Mm-hmm.
know, um, and I don't even mean that in a smart ass way. I'm somebody who has dealt with suicidal tendencies for my entire fucking life. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, and and it's one of those things where I have to stop and look at myself and go, you know what? Whatever this is, it is temporary. This too shall pass. How do we
Mm-hmm.
get through it? How do we move through this and come out better for it? What's to be gained from this? What's to be learned from this? Uh, in how to actually avoid having those problems again,
Mm-hmm.
how to grow from that, how to, improve on one's own, even if the only thing you can improve on is your own perspective and how you perceive the world around you. That
Mm-hmm.
alone can make a world of difference, you
Right.
know, because you could be in the best situation possible, but if you have a shitty perspective and you're perceiving everything around you as, a constant bombardment or attack on you, then it doesn't matter what good is happening, you're still going to just be seeking red flags of what's wrong here. Whereas if you look at things from a more objective point of view of being able to, and this comes back to also some Buddhist teachings too, of being able to be the observer, to emotionally detach from the situation,
Mm-hmm.
so that rather than reacting based on those feelings that are incurred, that you can actually take a moment of peace and be the observer there and look at things from a logical standpoint and be able to see a path through this. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it helps with that tremendously. Um, when it comes to microdosing, one of the first effects that you'll notice from it is a calming of your mind, especially if you have PTSD or even like high grade anxiety, where you get stuck in those circular thought loops of stressful shit that your brain won't shut the fuck up about. Your brain is literally being an asshole to you. And,
Mm-hmm.
nagging you about this, that, or the other. It helps to slow that down where, again, you can take that step back and actually look at what the issues are and how to address them instead of being just stuck in how it makes you feel.
Right. And a funny thing too, like building on that, I feel like a lot of like depression, anxiety, PTSD, a lot of these things are like, they're all surrounded by trauma. And I feel like a lot of people in have had traumatic experiences and they aren't getting their needs met and their stuff taken care of are always in this like, they're either in a past mindset or a future mindset and they're not present.
Yes.
And the whole thing with the microdosing and a lot of the Buddhist teachings is like being present, being in the now. But it's hard to do. It's really hard sometimes.
Yes. That's actually why a lot of these places that are doing the therapeutic research in using microdosing are also incorporating things like meditation. Because in meditation, they'll teach you that as you go through the different parts of your body and try to relax, to also take all of that baggage from the past that you're holding on to, all that weight that is bearing on your arm there, and set it down. Set it down and let yourself just be. Don't worry about what's going to happen in the future. Don't let the past preoccupy you. Just be.
Right. That was like that Ajahn Brahm video I watched yesterday of the emotional one where it's like, you need to think of yourself as a trash can. You're receiving all these things, right? Lots and lots of garbage all day long. But you have to be a trash can with a hole in the bottom. That way when you get up to leave or be moved, that stays there.
Yep.
Like, that was like everything. But it was perfect. That was really well worded. Like...
So I love the way he puts things. He is just utterly wonderful. And his perspective has helped me a lot over the years, especially when it comes to his ability to communicate those things like that of, being able to be present for that, like especially like say if it's a loved one who is going through some shit and they need to vent and you need to hold that space for them.
Right.
Like, yes, you absolutely need to take in what they are saying in order to empathize with where they're at, but you need to let it move through you. Let you move through it, not take all of that burden upon yourself to carry. Instead, both of you need to be able to put that down. The way to do that is really through just having that mindfulness, as well as the act of not just caring for others but self-care too. This is something that he was talking about in one of his Dhamma talks that I watched yesterday, that it really just hit me in the gut. Like, yes, thank you, I needed to hear this right now, because he was referring to how to be able to process those things when dealing with emotional turmoil, and being able to get to that place of just being centered and allowing yourself to exist free of all of those stressors, that you don't have to carry them with you. That is a choice. Whether you carry all that shit with you, it's one thing to take the lessons from it with you. It's another thing to carry that weight through the rest of your life and let it affect how you're able to interact in today.
Right. It just like slowly poisons you over time as you're holding on to this energy that you don't need. And it wasn't, half of it wasn't even yours to start with. You were just being a person and trying to care about those that you care about and they care about you. Because that's such a huge thing in these social, everything needs to be reciprocal. It's a cycle, right? Like what you put out comes back to you. You're putting out this gentle kindness and love, you will get back gentle kindness and love. Like,
yes. Yes. That's actually why he speaks on what he calls kindfulness, of bringing together acts of kindness with being mindful not just of others but of self too. And it's such a beautiful concept. I wish I had a clip of him talking about that handy to be able to pull up and play, because he says it so much more fucking eloquently than I ever could. he's also been doing so for years. I am still yet just a student, you know.
Well, I mean, you are the Zen motherfuckers. Like, you would be our
Try.
best representative.
Yeah,
But,
it's just a beautiful thing. Like uh, listening to his Dhamma talks has brought me a lot of peace over the years. One of my best friends, Latricia, showed me his videos years ago when I had just gotten out of a really abusive relationship and I was not right in the fucking head at all. You know, who would be after dealing with that mess, you know?
right.
And it from the first video that she showed me, I was just hooked, hanging on his every word. And it's because of listening to him that I've actually learned a few tools for coping with life on life's terms to put in my proverbial toolbox and,
Mm-hmm.
you know, be able to deal with things in a healthier manner um, than I used to anyway.
Yeah.
You know, um,
But it's like,
it's absolutely beautiful.
it's beautiful. And it's like a skill that we have to work on over time because, like, not everything's perfect. And I mean, I work with kids, so it's a daily reminder for me, right? We're all learning, we're all figuring stuff out. Not all people are the same, not all people want to be handled the same. Like, I work in an EBD classroom and we have a stray that likes to come in, and I like this student very much. He's ASD. He's going through his paces, but he keeps trying real hard, and he has this stuffed animal and its head was falling off, so I brought my sewing kit, or I borrowed a sewing kit from a coworker, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna fix your buddy for you, but I want to know, because I didn't know what his reaction was going to be. Do you want to watch me sew the head back on, or do you want space and me to bring it back to you when I'm done? He's like, no, I
Right.
would like to watch, please. I was like, okay. I was like, I'm telling him what I'm doing as I'm doing it. Like, this is why we're stitching this way. I don't want you to feel scared. It doesn't hurt him. He's going to be okay. He was very worried, but it was just like being mindful of him and his concerns he might have, because he processes the whole world in a different way than I do, where I'd be like, great, take it. I'll come back for it later. Like, thanks for fixing my stuffy.
Right.
So,
Kind of
like,
makes me wonder if he was curious about how to sew and how to fix it. You know, he was probably learning from that too, of watching the stitches you were making there. You know,
it was not my best handiwork. It was a weird seam. It was like head popped off, but it had a point thing, and it was missing half the stuffing. And I was like, I probably should have got more stuffing. He's like, well, we can do more surgery later. Sometimes you got to go back. And I'm like, yep, you're right. Sometimes you got to go
Very
back.
true.
It ain't all done the first time.
Sometimes it takes more than one surgery. That's
Right.
wisdom.
Mm-hmm. He's a smart kid.
Um, it's one other thing too. Like what you were doing there, also embodies another factor that Ajahn Brahm likes to talk about, of combining that empathetic compassion with wisdom. Because if you just have the compassion alone, you're likely to overspend yourself when it comes to taking on other people's problems when you're trying to be there and hold space for them. But if you're utilizing wisdom there, then you can also not only share of that wisdom with who it is you're working with, as you did in that situation. You used wisdom even in addressing his wishes of, would you like to be present for this stuffy surgery, or would you like me to bring him back from the ER later? You know,
Right.
That's finding that balance there that made that situation easier for both of you to be able to move through. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it also applies when it comes to situations that can be problematic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's only so far your compassion can go if someone is treating you in harmful ways, and therefore you must have some wisdom about it. And his example for this, a joke as usual, was saying, you know, people always say to truly understand another, to walk a mile in their shoes. That is compassion. When you bring wisdom into the equation, you walk 10 miles in their shoes. And then it's all better, because by the time you're done, you're 10 fucking miles away from them. So, sometimes the most you can do is compassionately walk away.
Mhm.
And use that wisdom, in self-preservation,
Right.
Beautiful
Boundaries.
concept. Yes.
That's a
Yes.
huge thing. I have to say, for an EBD classroom, ASD classroom, I have like pounded it into their heads. Like, if you want a hug, you need to ask first and wait for the yes. If you don't get a yes, that means you need to walk away. And now I've got them to the point where they're stating like, I need a hug. Can I have a hug now? I'm like, oh, I need a minute. You know, I'll come tap you on the shoulder when I'm ready. And they're like, okay. And then they'll know that I'll come over and give them the hug.
Beautiful. That's teaching them about consent. That's teaching them about bodily autonomy, about boundaries, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
And
They
that's
need
so
it.
important. Yes.
Mhm.
These are those proverbial tools that so many adults don't even have in their toolbox. So I
Which
love
is
this is being established with the kids in the classroom.
well, some of the other adults I work with don't have good boundaries, so that's why I'm like trying to be like, okay, it's okay for you to say no. It's okay for you to take a break. It's okay for you to refuse a hug. You don't have to do it. I'll offer, but I'm not going to do it until you say yes. Like, and
Right?
it's so funny now because they're like, I didn't think so and so had those kind of boundaries, and it was like, well, you don't give them enough credit. Like, you got to
Or
pay
give them the option
attention.
to tell you.
Right.
That's one thing. Like, so many adults don't listen to kids, and you'll see it like with older family members
Oh, I hate
demanding
that.
a hug from the little
Yes.
ones at holiday dinners and shit. And it's like, excuse me, if this child tells you, no, I don't want a hug right now, respect
Then you need
the
to
no.
honor that. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not saying they hate you and they wish you die. They say they don't want you in their personal space right now. And that's okay. Doesn't mean they don't love you. Just means they need space.
Right.
I've
Right.
always
If you want a hug,
hated
I'll
that.
give you a hug.
Right.
Same, that's something that I have taught my nieces and nephews too, of like, hey, if you don't want a hug, then you don't need to get a hug. I'm just going to offer it. If you guys want a hug good night before you go to bed, I'll give you a hug,
Right?
Or if you want a hug hello when I get here, I'm open.
Yeah.
I got hugs to go all the way around. If you don't want one, I'll blow you a kiss and tell you I
Right.
still love you,
Yeah. And I mean, I've found too, even in most instances where it's like you give them this space and maybe they didn't want it right away and then they change their mind later, it's a better hug. It's a way
is.
better hug because it's wanted and they just kind of like nuzzle in and it's like, oh, I can't. I love
Right.
hugs. I love them. I don't force them, but I do love a good hug.
I love a good hug too. And I've noticed the same with my brother's kids that, oftentimes if they need a minute, they will come right back and you'd be like, okay, I'll take that hug now.
Right?
And it's, it teaches them that it is their right to set their boundaries where they wish. That, like, no, you're not obligated to give anybody a hug if you don't feel like it. But if you do, hugs are pretty awesome. And
Right.
again, down to neurotransmitters, circling back to that, hugs also release oxytocin.
Right?
That's why a good long hug feels so damn good, because it triggers your brain to release oxytocin, the love chemical.
Right? 20 seconds. A 20-second hug also helps you bond to the person that you're hugging
Yes.
better too.
Absolutely.
See, there's just so many better ways than prescriptions given to you by Dr. Dinglefritz, who you usually go see when you got a sore throat, like wants to heal your mental health problems, and that just
Well, again, back to a Jean Bram. You cannot cure everything. Some things simply aren't curable, but
Right.
damn it,
You just have
can
to
still
care.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yes. And it's one thing, like, okay, if these doctors were actually showing care, if they really thought, okay, there might be a chemical imbalance that is affecting this, okay, they should send you to a neurologist and to get the blood work done and everything to find out if you actually do have a chemical imbalance that one of those medicines might be able to help. But if you don't have a chemical imbalance, there's no reason for you to take those medicines. That's not the problem.
Right. And, oh, let me tell you, there are so many things that are wrong with this country, and I feel like I'm just about to, like, spiral into the abyss. So stop me if you need to. But
Spiral away.
this country and how it handles mental health, well, really doesn't handle mental health. It just kind of puts it in a box and it's here if you can afford it. It's not every man's resource,
Right.
which is bullshit. It should be free. But you also, as a patient, should have options. You should have choices. You shouldn't have to take Trintellix and possibly kill yourself because you already want to kill yourself. You should
Right.
be able to do microdosing, and that's... We need to put more money and take it out of that goddamn military budget, which is total bullshit, and put it into actually caring for the people who live in this fucking country. Like,
Yep. That, you know,
Like-
how much better, okay, first of all, a lot of our anxiety, even, which is simply a normal part of the human condition. We are fucking cucumbers with anxiety, god damn it. We're, you know, mostly water, you know, electrified meat bag. But a lot of that comes down to not having basic needs met. If we were meeting those needs of housing, food, education, healthcare, first of all, that would eliminate a lot of these stressful situations that bring people to the point of needing mental health care in the first place. But if those were already addressed and there was actually full access for people to be able to get the mental health care that they need when they need it, my God, this would be such a better place. Why the fuck are we wasting so much money on bombs and rockets and all this other
That just sit there. That just sit there. No one's using them. Like,
It's not a necessity, but they seem to
Right.
think it's a necessity when it's time to invade another country. There's like 20 something countries that the US government is invading right now. You know? It's fucking ridiculous that that's where the majority of our tax dollars go, is this massive war budget to just be, you know, America,
Horrible.
fuck yeah, coming to save the motherfucking day. Yeah, fucking
except
world.
really we're making shit worse.
Right. It's fucking crazy.
It's like pour that money into mental health. Pull that money into drugs. Like actual what should they consider
Plant
Schedule
medicine.
1.
Right.
It,
Plant
you know,
medicines.
you don't know anything about it. Why don't you do some fucking research like you do on other shit? Maybe you would realize that there's like way better options out there. Like there's a gentleman, and I saw on a program, and I can't remember what he was microdosing, but he was microdosing something. This man had previously he was in the military, so he had PTSD from that,
Yeah.
and had kind of a difficult childhood. He had 5 suicide attempts. And then he started microdosing. And he's like a totally different man. Like he had a snapshot from when he was in the PTSD depths and then like now, and it was like eyes were completely different. Like just he was more warm and alive. I don't know. Maybe that sounds weird, but it like was clearly working for him. He could function, he could do things. Like why wouldn't you invest in this? Why wouldn't you try and give people this natural route out? Also, if the government started doing it, they could make sure that it's pure and not being tampered with. They could regulate it. They could tax the shit out of it. I don't care. But try harder. Try more. You have resources that you purposely don't use because of systemic racism and all sorts of other shit. Sorry.
That. It's like, oh, fuck the shit show. I mean, when it comes to, like, this capitalist system is completely dependent on those hierarchies of racism and sexism, homophobia, all these other things to uphold that stronghold that they have over everybody. It keeps people from even having the time to educate themselves enough to be aware of how this shit really works and why and how. Keeps you in that rat race where you're in this vicious cycle of wake up in the morning, eat breakfast, hop in the shower, go to work, come home, eat dinner, watch TV for an hour, go to sleep, wake up,
Mm-hmm.
do it all over again. And
Right.
weekends aren't even really a break either, because on the weekends you're having to catch up on all the house cleaning and errands and shit that you didn't fucking have time to do during the week. When the fuck
Yes.
do you get a break to just be, to just live,
Right.
to go the fuck outside and breathe some fresh air, go for a hike, go for a swim, go do
Right.
any fucking thing that actually living consists of. Yeah, no, you don't have
Mm-hmm.
fucking time to do that.
Right. It's hard. Like, I mean, when I can push in my yoga and I can push in my meditation time, it definitely helps. It's not a cure all, but it makes it better.
Yeah.
I mean, like to like light my spooky black candles and sit on the living room floor and just like escape into my head for a little while.
Right? To
Take it
just
in.
be.
Yeah.
Just vibing.
Sometimes I color. I got a coloring book. I color for like 5 hours. It's ridiculous. But it's good. And I mean, okay, so I work with special ed kids and like they say that coloring is really good for people because the repetitive pressure makes your brain
Yep.
feel good.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I'm gonna color. I could color for hours. It's so great.
Yep. Uh, that's something I enjoy doing too. And I'm a painter too,
Hmm.
so a lot of times I'll bust out a canvas and just start painting something. But if I don't even feel like putting that creative energy into creating what it is there, I will grab a
Hmm.
coloring book, or I gotta show you this. My friend Jen got me this journal. This is the Creative Thinking Journal from Pilgrim
Oh,
Soul,
that's
and
cute.
it's awesome. The whole thing is various like activities and shit that is good for stimulating the brain. There's all kinds of stuff in here. Every page is full of something awesome, and
Oh,
amidst all of that is also coloring book pages. So this is a lion that I'm in the midst of working on.
it's
And I love it.
beautiful.
It is soothing, especially when you get into like following patterns with the colors. It just puts
Yes.
your brain in such a relaxed state
Mm-hmm.
to, just not have to think about anything else, of just looking, okay, where is this space as far as this pattern goes? Okay, that's what color that's going to be. All right. you know,
Yeah.
um, it's wonderful. There's another one here that is just a massive
Oh my
cluster of
gosh.
beautiful stuff. It's yes, this is brain food. This is
But
total
then,
brain.
like, when it's done, though, too, it's all exciting to look back at it and think about, like, your process and, like, how you were feeling when you decided to color this image. Because, like, I feel like I can line up stuff and be like, oh, I was in a bad mood that day. Or, oh, we were feeling ourselves. We were having a good old time. Like, and I don't know what happened over there. Like,
Yeah. I mean, this has some exercises for those moments too, of like writing poetry, all kinds of stuff like that. We should have time to dedicate to doing things like this
mhm,
that stimulate our brain in a completely different manner than this vicious work cycle shit.
right?
Wonder why so many of us are having mental health issues. Gee, I wonder why.
Because self care isn't a thing. Or people like make jokes like, oh yeah, a bottle of wine, that's self care. And I'm like, okay, maybe for some people that helps you unwind, but there are other ways you could experiment with unwinding.
Yeah. Yeah. Sadly,
Like,
most people's unwinding is a few beers after work,
yeah.
instead of anything that would actually get your brain processing things in a different manner that is more relaxing
Hmm.
without ingesting a literal depressant. It's like,
Right.
I also used to be a raging drunk, and I thought I was improving my mood by drinking my ass off.
Hmm.
No, not really. If you're depressed and you're consuming a depressant, guess where it leaves you? More
Right? I
hangover.
don't.
Uh,
Oh, I shouldn't laugh. People have actual problems, and it's sad, but like,
I
that's not
I
something
couldn't
we
laugh
talk
because
like
I had that
about.
problem. You know, it's one of those things where you definitely have to keep your sense of humor through life to even be able to deal with it. But
Hmm.
I mean, at the time, was I laughing about it? Not really. Can I laugh
Right.
about it now? Yeah, because at least I have that relief of like, if
You
I'm
got
having a
through it.
rough day, I don't feel like I need to go grab a drink. I can sit down and think about, okay, what went right, what went wrong, what can we learn from this, how can we do different, and you actually process those things and be able to gain something from it. It's not a mistake if it's a life lesson that
Hmm.
you learn from, that you grow from.
Right. I've been trying to do this thing when I go to pick up Zach now, like rose and thorn. What was the rose and thorn of your day?
Yeah,
He thought it was weird, but
I think it's dope. There
I like it. There's a lot of comments now talking
is.
about how universal health care, definitely.
Yeah.
Pill
Zach's
chucking.
universal housing, which would help with stabilizing addicts too. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, uh, what free time you do have being spent recovering from work.
Right?
Like, how are you ever supposed to get into that area of like some positive growth if you're stuck in recovery just from how hectic the day is? you know we need shorter work days and less work days a week to really be able to optimally function as people.
Right? 8 hour workday is bullshit. You're not exactly productive the full 8 hours a day you're at work. I know I'm not. I'm more productive when there are physical children in front of me because it's go, go, go. But
Right.
like I have time before, well, I have time after that I'm busy doing things, but things that I couldn't do in the earlier part of my day because I didn't have data yet. So, like, it's crazy to think that, like, we expect adults to be able to do all these things when their baseline needs aren't met. But, like, when I have kids come to school, my first thing is, like, okay, did you get breakfast? If the answer is no, we're going to go get some. And,
Yep.
like, how did you sleep last night? I have kids nap in my room all the time. If they didn't get sleep, I know nothing else is going to fucking happen until we at least get to lay down for 20 minutes. Even if they
Right.
don't sleep, I got a mat, I got a weighted blanket, I'll turn the lights off. Let's go take a nap.
Yep. At least
And I,
relax, let your
mhm,
brain chill the fuck out, free
right.
yourself of you know the jumble fuck of thoughts, and just have some peace for a little bit.
Hmm.
It's one of the best ways to hit that reset button.
Oh, it absolutely is. Because when these kids get back awake again, they're like, okay, what did I miss? It's like, let's not worry about what you missed. Let's go see what's going on right now. Like,
Right.
let's leave that where it is. But I have a handful of teachers that get super pissed at me when I let the kids sleep. And it's like, fine, why don't you go try to teach them the quadratic equation without breakfast or sleep? And you let me know how that goes. And if you
Right.
call for behavior help during that time, I'm not answering.
Right. Right.
Because I
Because
told you.
they're literally going into patterns that are not conducive to learning if they're ignoring that you need some food, because your brain
Mhm.
needs glucose to function.
Right.
And if you're overtired, you need to give your brain and your body a fucking break for a little bit before you dive into more work. Otherwise, you're not absorbing any of that information.
Right. And it's useless anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, even as an adult, and I'm sure most of us experience this, let us know if you do, chatters. Hangry. Hangry is a very real thing for me. You can ask Zach. It's bad. And I'm like, I cannot do anything until a snack has happened, but ideally a meal. So
Right.
I like keep snacks in my purse now all the time because I don't know when it's going to happen and nobody wants to deal with it. And I don't blame them.
Right? Same. It's one of those things. Like, I
Yeah.
have to make sure I have snacks with me anywhere that I go because I'm hypoglycemic already. So if that drops and I don't notice because I've been running for too many hours on just coffee,
Right.
then it's like, "Ah, food, food
Right?
now!" You know?
Yeah.
Bitch comes out.
Mhm.
Like, feed me.
Right? Or it's like, I need to talk to you about something. Like, we aren't talking about anything until I get food. Like, you don't want to talk to me right now. I need the food. Then we
Right.
talk.
Right. So, like, when so many of us can recognize that in our adult selves, how can we
Right.
put blinders on that, concept when it comes to dealing with kids, especially at school?
Mhm.
Like, damn it. I mean, you're expecting little kids to keep a rigorous schedule of
Right.
work at like 8 years old.
Yeah.
Come on now.
I taught them hangry. I was like, hangry. It's where you're so hungry you're mad.
Hmm.
And now I've got a kindergartner. He comes up and he'll yank on my pants and be like, hangry. I'm like, all right, let's go get some crackers.
Right. Right.
We can fix that.
Yep.
but-
Snacks matter. Damn it.
Yeah, they do.
Gotta
And
have
you know,
snacks.
with COVID and shit, like this has been like the only year and a half, 2 years or whatever, where school lunch has been free. And I've been talking with the lunch ladies in the cafeteria, and they're like, it's bullshit. It should always be free. If these kids are being required to go to school, they should be fucking fed because they have to be here. It's not a choice. So just give them free lunch.
Right.
It's no skin off anybody's ass. I remember when I was in school, they'd fucking take your hot lunch away if you didn't have money in your account and slap a peanut butter and jelly on your tray.
But
And
at
they'd
least you
throw
got
it away
something
in
for-
front of you. But like, to me, that's cruel. You already put the food on the plate. Let them fucking eat it. They're not hurting anyone.
Yeah, that is cruel. Like, if you've already up, it's like,
Yeah.
why throw it away?
You're not
rather
gonna give
than
it to
let the
someone
kids have
else.
it, that's just
Right.
embarrassing. Yeah, it's so fucked up because I mean, we put enough tax dollars into the public tax coffer that we should have excellent food programs and things like that at our schools. And I'll just take a moment to point out the history of this. The only reason we have any school food programs at all is because they felt threatened by the Black Panthers starting up the free breakfast for kids program back in the 60s because kids were going to the Black Panther offices and getting breakfast and also getting some political education at the same time every morning before then going to school. They wanted to make kids weren't going to school fucking hungry because, food insecurity is a real fucking thing.
Right.
And, the state was like, oh, fuck, we can't compete with that right now unless we do something too. But
Right.
the sad thing is that it hasn't caught on as being a free thing at all schools. At some it is.
Right.
There's one school system that my nieces and nephews used to attend that would even send them home with packed bags of like a sandwich, a milk or juice, some fruits,
That's so
things like that.
nice.
So they have a snack to munch on until, dinner time. So that way they're keeping their blood sugar up. Their brain glucose is, at its
Right.
necessary levels and they're functional. Like,
Mhm.
why does this seem to be like such a difficult thing to implement across the board of, yet no, this is a beautiful place for our tax dollars to go to.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's common sense. It's baseline shit. And then it's like, what's going to happen? You're going to like turn these kids into entitled people who think they deserve food? Yes. Yes, I goddamn am. Because they do. It's not up for negotiation. I don't mean everybody's going to get a fucking filet mignon, but no one's going to go to bed hungry. Like,
right. For people to even address it like that, like, what, you don't realize that food is a necessity, therefore it is a human right? And hi, Amazing Wolf Skeptic. Welcome back to you too. I love that she
Hello.
loves saying my name. But yeah, it's one of those things that I really have so much trouble comprehending where people are coming from when they try to act like food isn't a right. And I'm like,
yeah,
are you kidding me? How long are you going to live without it? A matter
exactly. And that and like healthcare shit. Like, oh my god, it pisses me off. So like, overshare. If you guys want to tune out, that's okay. I have a genetic blood clotting disorder, and I take blood thinners, and I have to have that monitored fairly regularly. And unfortunately, this is the only way for me to deal with this issue. But my medical bill is just. I was like, do y'all think I fucking picked this? Do you think I was like, pick a disease out of a bucket? And like, this is what I want. This is what I want to deal with my entire life. Please charge me an arm and a leg. And then harass me about it.
Right. They act as if it's a choice, and it's like, nobody chooses to have something fucked up go awry with their health.
Yeah.
You know?
And they're like, oh, can't you just pay out of pocket? And I was like, have you seen your goddamn costs out of pocket? Because I bet you wouldn't pay it, so why the fuck would you expect me to? Shit. Like.
Right. And the killer part is, that pisses me off the most is a lot of the money that we're spending on healthcare isn't actually paying for the care. It's so much over and above the care itself, because it's paying for stupid shit like fucking TV commercials for their drugs or for their medical appliance supplies, whatever, the machinery for testing and stuff. Like, why are we paying for ad space?
Yes! And why are we the only fucking country that advertises prescription medications? I'm not a doctor. I wouldn't trust me to prescribe anything to anybody. And nor should I. Like,
you shouldn't be going, mad. Hey, doc, I saw this commercial and this drug sounds great. Can you write me a script? Like,
and sometimes they do it. Or they're like, you want some fucking samples? No.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Why? Because they get kickbacks from the pharmaceutical companies for that shit. And it's like, why the fuck is capitalism allowed to touch our healthcare system? Even other fucking capitalist countries don't do it. Out of 33 so-called like industrialized, modernized countries on the planet, there's only one that doesn't have universal healthcare, and that does this stupid fuckery with ads and whatnot, and that's the United States.
Yes.
Yeah, $50 for a Tylenol in the hospital. It's fucking stupid. It's like, you kidding me? You can get the goddamn pharmacy, get a whole fucking jar of the motherfuckers for like $5 or $6. Why would you pay $50 for one fucking dose of the hospital?
Fucking call me. I got some in my purse. I got the big bottle too. I'll share.
Right? Right.
It's insane. It's so just nobody chooses these things. Why would you torment people? Actually, let's go on a side tangent about that for a few minutes, because I got some feelings. Healthcare is trash. Doctor visits, like when you go to the doctor, you got 15 minutes. You got 15 fucking minutes to figure out what's wrong with you. All right? Odds are they're not going to figure it out in that 15 minutes. That's not even long enough to get a good rapport with you to get an idea of what's going on. Also, if you're overweight, you can already assume what that doctor's going to tell you. Get your fat ass out on a bicycle, go start running and eat better, okay? That's not always a solution. Some people have a fucking thyroid problem. Maybe you should do some labs and figure that out. Shit.
Right.
Deep breath.
Not to mention,
there's
a lot of things that they want to play that card about that aren't even related to your weight. Mm-hmm. You know, like not everything comes down to the size of my ass. I had, that the doctor that I was telling you about that I fired because she was just a fucking Pez dispenser for opiates. That bitch, you should have seen the shocked look on her face after I would get blood work done and stuff like that. Because, I mean, I've always been on the thick side, anywhere from thick to obese. And even at my fattest, she was like looking at my blood work going, fuck, you're healthier than most people who are skinny. And I'm like, I actually eat healthy and I work out. Just because I'm fat doesn't mean I'm not healthy. Like, that's not the problem I'm here for.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to fucking lose some weight, I'll go to the goddamn gym.
Right?
That's not what I'm here for. Because she tried offering me fucking diet pills and shit too. And it's like,
But
I have no problem with the size of my ass. I have a problem with the back pain.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it just pisses me off. It pisses me off to a level that I can hardly fathom and have a hard time recentering from, because it's just like, I mean, I'm a big girl. I don't care. I also have a medication that's very susceptible to vitamin K, so I have to be really, really careful and consistent with what I eat and when I eat it, because if I make too many big changes in one go, everything gets fucked up. And then I'm back in several fucking times. And then, oh, why is your bill so large? Like, I don't know. Why are you so stupid? But, yeah, I mean, I've had the same thing, too, like, with blood work and stuff. It'll come back and they're like, oh, that wasn't what I was expecting for you. And I was like, oh, really, asshole? What were you expecting for me? Please enlighten me, motherfucker. Like,
Right.
oh,
God.
oh.
So many of them, they don't have that care factor. They really
No.
don't have much of a knowledge factor unless they've done continued education. Like, especially if you're dealing with an older doctor that fucking graduated decades ago when we were in diapers. If they haven't done any continued education and updated their knowledge base, they're still operating on some really fucking ignorant ideas that science has since disproven. And they still swear by it, like that stupid pinch and inch rule and things like that. And sorry, but even at my thinnest and healthiest, where you could literally see the muscle definition, guess what? I could still pinch an inch. Why? That's just how I'm built. I'm never going to be stiff. Wouldn't want to be.
Yeah.
I would be unhealthy if you couldn't pinch an inch on me.
Right. Well, and that's just it, too. It's like, why don't you look at the lab work only? Why don't you look at that only and then make a decision? There's the reason why you draw those labs in the first place. Like, come on. Speaking of dumb doctors, I have a side segue for us. Zach had the pleasure of attending a doctor's appointment with me one time. I was having a very challenging cycle. Things were very heavy. And I decided to go in, and I was like, I'll see whoever, a doctor's a doctor, thinking, yeah, that was stupid of me. I had a male doctor. I sat down, explained what was going on, and he goes, I don't have your parts, so I don't really understand what's going on. And I was like, Christ, thank someone that I can't flip this fucking table over on you right now. Are you kidding me? You went to med school? I don't have those parts.
Have the same parts doesn't mean you shouldn't have learned that part of anatomy and physiology, motherfucker. What the hell?
You went to med school for how long, dumbass? Right, oh my gosh.
I've been in anatomy and physiology classes. They don't separate it by gender. Like, okay, men are going to learn men body parts. Women are going to learn women body parts.
And no crossover.
We have no place really. Are we going to do a separate transgender anatomy and physiology class here? So only you guys can learn about how, humans exist in more than just XX and XY, and that there's literally XXX, XXY, XYY, all these other things. Literally, no, everybody is together in one fucking classroom and you learn all of it. So he should be fully aware of not just, XY anatomy, but XX anatomy, as well as everything in between when it comes to trisomies and other polysomies, because when it comes down to it, humans come in many fucking flavors. So says the science. Like, how can you be a doctor and just be fucking ignorant to anything that is part of your fucking anatomy?
Exactly. It'd be one thing if it was like, you know what, this seems like a better situation to be handled by this specialist. I'm going to give you a referral to so-and-so because they understand this part better. They specialize in, gosh, just the worst. Zach looked
Right.
at me afterwards, and I was like, what do you say to that? Like, I can't,
Face palm.
right?
You know?
I want my copay back.
Right.
Like, I'm not paying $40 for this.
Moment of like walking out the door, like, you're not getting a copay from me because I didn't get
Yeah.
any actual health care. So piss off. Fuck.
Gosh. What else we got for
We've got
comments?
a lot in comments. Yeah.
I love this.
Bread crochets or
850.
bread crotchets. I'm not sure. I went to urgent care because my colon was bleeding and the motherfucker told me it was hemorrhoids and stress and gave me Pepto-Bismol.
Oh
no.
my god.
Oh no. No. Pepto-Bismol
That's...
is liquid plug you up, and that's going to make a situation like that so much worse. That's
And if you're bleeding, you're gonna bleed way worse because I can't take stuff like Pepto-Bismol or ibuprofen because it makes your blood thinner really fast.
Right. And
shit.
Oh god.
That's awful. I'm really sorry that happened to you. But again, if we'd spend more than 15 minutes fucking talking to someone when there's a problem, maybe we'd have a better idea about what's going on. So saying, oh, we got a lab. Looks like we got a problem. Okay, let's get some pills. Bye. Have a great day.
Pretty much.
Pay another copay and come back in 2 weeks. And then we'll send you to the ER.
It's horrible when you have to fight to even be able to get, a referral to go over to a lab and actually get the tests done that you would need done to determine what's wrong. Things like that, it's fucking ridiculous.
It is. And it's like labs are not that expensive. Labs are really cheap.
Mm-mm.
Like, unless it's genetic testing, that's a whole different animal, though. But if you have stuff that lines up with that, then it's covered.
Right. Or at least should be. Depends on your insurance.
Oh my god, don't even get... Odds are... Okay, fun fact, y'all, because I used to work in insurance. If your prescription doesn't get filled at the pharmacy, 9 times out of 10, your doctor did not fill out the right fucking paperwork or didn't send your labs. And that's why you're not getting your meds. So follow up with the clinic, just so y'all know, okay?
Right, make sure they actually got all the info in and correctly. That's so ridiculous. I mean, for all of the other issues the bitch had, Dr. Pill Popper that I fired years ago at least had a decent setup at her office building where on the main floor was her office and the other doctors that were part of her group there. And downstairs in the basement was all the labs, everything from x-rays and all that shit to getting your blood drawn. They had everything right there in-house of like, okay, just go downstairs and get this test done. I mean, if it was something more in-depth like an MRI, go down the road to that diagnostic center,
Right.
but it was that it is at least one area where I have to give credit where credit is due, that at least with her, I didn't have any problem accessing, getting testing done. But the way that they've made changes in insurance and all of that since then, like it got frustrating for me and my doctor of like, what do you mean we need another fucking prior authorization? Like, oh my God, this stupid insurance,
Right.
just to go get fucking tests done. It stands in the way.
And prior authorization, your doctor might not have been in the network or in the network for the right thing. So then you have to switch clinics and get a prior authorization from the clinic that's actually in your... I'm sorry, I did this for a long time. It sucks. Insurance is the biggest scam. And I mean any insurance, health insurance, car insurance, it's all trash.
Yeah. It's all just a grifting for, taking money from you for no fucking reason. I mean, think about it.
Right.
If all the money that we put into insurance, we were instead putting into a savings account for if we had an emergency, had an accident, needed to fix a fender bender, thing like, we would have so much more money than what that insurance is willing to cover.
Right. It's just
For fuck's sake,
gross.
even like paying out of pocket for just a doctor's visit is
Mm-hmm.
less money than your monthly fucking insurance. So if your insurance is covering more than what it's costing you a month, like unless you have, you know, really expensive pharmaceuticals that need to be covered or something, like if that's not balancing out, then what's the point of having the insurance? That's just them getting to keep a bunch of your money, and you're paying, you know, $400 a fucking month for yourself plus an additional $200 a month for your kids or fucking whatever it is, you know, and you might not even go to the doctor that month. You might not
Right.
need anything, but you're just giving them
Mm-hmm.
money because you got
You
to
have to.
justify your fucking existence because capitalism said so.
Right. We got to keep the top 1%'s pockets lined.
All right.
We wouldn't want
They
them
get
to run out.
socialism.
Because it all trickles down. Oh,
No.
sure don't.
I saw the funniest thing the other day. It was a meme that had, you know, the wine glasses stacked in the pyramid where they're pouring in the top,
Yeah.
and it'll trickle down, but this time there was a little hose running into the top glass and off to a tank over here that was labeled like, you know, international bank account or something like that. Like that's where all the trickling is going to, is back to themselves.
Right.
Usually offshore.
Yeah. Like, what is wrong with this country? Like, oh, this is the richest, best country in the whole wide world. They're like, are you out of your damn mind? I mean, I realize I live here because I have to. I wish I were Canadian. I wish it every day.
In some ways, sure. In others, maybe not so much. I mean, when it comes to their
Yeah.
healthcare, they at least have better access than we do.
Mhm.
I,
I like the
I don't know if
climate.
you've seen the documentary Sicko that Michael Moore did years ago.
I feel
But in
like
there,
I
he was
have, but it's been a
actually,
long time.
it's been a long time for me too. I remember watching it around the time of Occupy, you know. But there was some Canadians that he was interviewing in there, and they were conservatives, very right-wing people, and they were like, hell no, we wouldn't let go of our socialized care. You couldn't pay us
Mhm.
to. Like, you know, we would never repeal that. That is such a huge benefit, and it helps everybody. And to us, that is the more conservative path to take, because it literally saves us billions of dollars a year to have universal
Mhm.
health care instead of a fucked up privatized system like you guys have. That is the conservative
Right.
path. At least that's what
Yeah.
conservatism is.
But also, like, if universal healthcare were a thing, people could make more personal decisions about where the fuck they work instead of being like, who has the best bennies? Who's going to give me the big dollars? Because I need X, Y, and Z, even if I have to sacrifice LMNOP. Like, that decision would happen far less.
Yup.
I mean,
It would improve your mobility there. If
right.
somebody's a shitty employer, you could be like, hey, fuck you and the horse you rode in on. I'm out. I found a better job, you know,
Right.
and not have to worry about, oh, well, if I switch jobs, I'm going to be without insurance for a 3 to 6 month period. And if anything
Better
happens,
job.
then I'm fucked. Or
Yeah.
I have a prescription regimen that I have to stay on and get filled monthly, and if I don't have coverage, I'm fucked, you know?
Right. That was me every fucking summer for the last couple of years, but now that I'm in this other position with public school, I'm actually covered for summer, at least through August, but if I have my next I should be getting a contract. I haven't heard otherwise, and they're pretty good about like, hey, you're a loser, go away. Like, so
Nice.
I'll actually have coverage year round, and I have to say, like, it would have been absurd for me to try to add Zach to my health insurance because it would have been like $1,400 and there goes my paycheck. But their
God
dental,
damn.
I don't pay for dental, I don't pay for vision. And we're fully covered in those two respects
That's
for free.
awesome.
And my dental covers 90% of everything as long as
That's
I'm in
what the
network.
fuck's up.
Right? My
Oh,
dentist is
dude.
like, shit, my coverage isn't even that good. I'm like, and you're the dentist. Like,
Damn.
I'm
Like
like, I'm
that's
just more likely to get punched in the mouth than you, but Zach, you should come over and
dude.
say hi on camera to your friend.
Huh?
Your friend is asking where you are.
I
There's too many
responded.
girls on screen.
I responded.
Oh, he's hiding. He's scared. Lady takeover.
He's like, no, this is your thing. Right. The
It
cameras
is.
have taken over the stream for the night.
I used to do my own Twitch
Oh,
stream, but then I stopped because I didn't have an audience except for my mother-in-law, whom I love dearly, but like it's not worth it for me to stream just so she'll watch. So
fair.
it was
I
about
have noticed
plants.
that you do hop in quite frequently though, and I
I do. I like to throw them off.
hell yeah.
We just gotta get a better chair so I can sneak in quieter instead of like tripping over the bed frame and making a lot of noise and dragging it across the room. It needs to be like whoosh, whoosh, ah.
I mean, it's good to have the option to enter like a ninja, but to enter like a storm as well, like, guess who's here? It works.
That's that is how I'm accustomed to walking into rooms, especially where the kids are like, ah, fuck her again. They're like, yeah, that's right, bitch, I'm back. Y'all better be doing your job.
Right. Jack says you just needed to do longer shows. They had a lot of followers. All over here. Hop back on that Twitch channel to do one segment. Like, hey, by the way,
Right? I'm not gone. I just took a sabbatical because I didn't have enough plants to talk about, but now my dealer's back, so I can be able to come and do more.
hell yeah.
Zach gets mad when I talk about my dealer, but it's really my cactus guy. Because he brings stuff up from Arizona that I can't get
Nice.
here. And he's got good prices and he's really nice.
Hell yeah. Dude, there's
Like,
a lot of beautiful stuff around here. I do love getting out like in the middle of fucking nowhere, like on the BLM land, and seeing all the various indigenous, succulents and stuff growing everywhere. They're fucking beautiful.
They're so cool.
Like, there's so many of them that are starting to bloom now that everywhere I've gone, I've been like,
I know. Like, who gave you permission to be so cute? Like,
right?
it's like your funky leaves. And like, okay. One of Zach's old coworkers talked about succulents and how she always wants to bite them. And I was like, I never thought about that, but they do look really chewy. Like a gummy bear. Like a really pretty gummy bear.
I drink the fuck out of aloe vera juice because it'll keep you hydrated. And this kind actually has the chunks of like when you cut open the aloe vera leaf.
Yeah, the
and,
gel.
like, scoop out the gel. Yeah, this has that in there. The chunks. I don't know how well you can see them floating around in there, but it is kind of chewy and it's fucking delicious. And it's so good for you.
Don't put
This
it
is
right
how
on your skin though. We found that out the hard way. We have an aloe plant and I'd gotten sunburnt and I was like, oh, I'll just rip off a piece and rub it on my skin. But apparently you're supposed to do some sort of treatment first because I put it on the burn and it started to burn more and I was like, shit.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, so apparently there's a treatment in between or you have to let it, like, you can use it, but you have to treat it before you use it on your skin for like a sunburn or something.
Okay, so what, like some Silvadine or something to calm the burn first? Because I usually just do that and just cope when it gets a little tingly from slapping a whole fucking fresh aloe leaf
Let's
on
see.
a sunburn.
I want to look this up now. Or maybe I just had a weird experience, or I'm just that fucking pale that my skin was like way worse than I thought it was.
Well, I mean, like, I know what you're talking about when, like you start to feel a little bit of a burning sensation from the aloe juice itself. I
Mhm.
just never realized that there was something else you were supposed to put on in between. And was just like, fuck it, bear through it, and
Uh-huh.
hold a chunk of aloe on, let it soak in. I also
Yeah.
usually follow that with shea butter or cocoa butter or something too to kind of seal the moisture in.
Right.
Oh, Zach said that you're supposed to scrape the
Scrape the
sap away
sap
and only
away.
use the gel. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That does make sense. Like the goopy that starts to turn purple from exposure to air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
probably what made it worse. It was like, damn it. Adulting is fun. We learn new stuff every day.
Right. Life's an experiment.
We're all just living in it.
See how shit goes. Goodness.
Oh my gosh.
Trying to get through it.
This is so
Ooh.
great.
There there was a thought I had earlier, given your suggestion about having some video to play. Give me a moment. I'm going to look someone up who is a psychedelic explorer who can give some more scientific context and everything to the microdosing factor.
Yeah. And I know you mentioned heroic dosing too. I had not heard about that at all until you had mentioned it. And I'm like, what is this? And that's like really big. It's the opposite. Like, oh.
Right. Microdosing is not enough to actually make you, trip balls.
Right.
Heroic dosing, yes. And with the microdosing, that is something you can do every day to help improve your ability to focus. So it increases your brain function, your awareness. But when it comes to the heroic dosing, that is more for like deep spiritual cleansing and really smashing that reset button instead of just being like boink on it. You're like, yeah, no,
Right.
hard reset. Just how can I put this? Disconnecting from the fucking matrix and tapping into the real.
Right, but like that's a necessary
like if you were in the movie
thing
Matrix,
too.
What's that? Sorry, I'm having audio
I was gonna say
issues.
that's just like a real thing too, though. Like just needing that full life reset. It's not always just like a small fix or a quick fix. Like there has to be something to be said for it. It does something, it works, and it could be regulated, right? Like, I mean, shit. You could control it so much better. Just think about how many less deaths you could have because you could be like, this was grown safely and, checked out or whatever. Here, we know it's good.
Right. You get quality control there. And that's super fucking important,
Right.
Sorry, I'm listening, but also scrolling here.
No worries.
Fine.
Audience of many persons, what do you guys do to help you get in touch with your inner chill? How do you unwind from a long shitty day at your long shitty job that exploits the shit out of you for very little money?
Right.
Does anybody meditate?
I do when I remember to. Sometimes I have to stop and remind myself to. Like, oh, wait, you haven't done that in a while. That would definitely help with you chill.
I try to do it for 5 minutes a day at some point. It's better in the mornings, but sometimes I don't get to it until before bed. But shit, it makes you sleep way better too. Like,
it really does.
It's so funny
it
how
brings
much
your blood pressure down.
Right? I always try to do it at the dentist or like on my way to the dentist because I hate going to the dentist, but I understand it's very important. It's like, okay, brain, we're going to the dentist and we're not going to panic today. We're not going to need 14 shots of Novocaine to get through this tiny cavity being filled.
I'm not finding the video that I was looking for, but this is a short one that can at least give some perspective on how long this has historically been getting studied for psychotherapy. So if you give me a second to load this, I don't know if it's going to play a commercial first, so I might have to let that do that before I screen share the video.
Okay.
Okay, this is being heard. It was showing under the video results, but all I'm seeing so far is the article. This is talking about in November of 1938, Albert Hofmann, a Swiss chemist, he was working at Sandoz Pharmaceuticals to create a stimulant when he synthesized LSD instead. It excited the test animals, but it wasn't the circulatory system stimulant that he was hoping for, or that the company rather was hoping for. He set LSD aside until 5 years later when he took another look and accidentally absorbed a small dose of his fingertips and experienced a radical shift in consciousness. And so I would like to point out too here, like mostly we've been talking about, psilocybin mushrooms, but no matter whether it's LSD, which is in fact an extract, it is synthesized from plants. It could be peyote button, it could be ayahuasca, it could be San Pedro. All of these plant medicines fall into that category and are also the same types of tools for healing yourself, healing your soul, healing your mind, and reconnecting with everything that is around you. Each just has their own specific purpose. So, we can get into some more of that in a few. I'm going to go back to the article here with the history of this. He concluded after experimenting a little bit more with LSD, Hoffman, he concluded that it would be a great thing to try to use, as well as recommending psilocybin to clinics and universities across the world too. So he really got that ball rolling in the scientific community there. After about a decade of research, they had some breakthroughs to understand the brain's neurochemistry, how therapists might effectively treat mental illness. And so in 1960, he sent psychedelics to a Harvard psychologist named Timothy Leary. Now, Timothy Leary is who I was looking for a video on, because I've seen some of his talks about this, and the man is fucking profound. But this is who we got it from, was Hoffman. It says here the rest is history, and it's like that's the part that I was wanting to show you guys, because we really dive super deep into a lot of various uses for them, and it's beautiful. And now I'm just fucking rambling as I scroll through this article. Anything else?
No, but that's
where's the video you promised me?
But it's
Sorry,
cool. It's cool and it's good information because in my head, having again never experienced drugs, but I'm very curious what could happen, and as soon as I am able to, I'm going to experiment. But again, I want I want to make a safe and informed choice for myself. But then I think about people who are therapists and stuff. Imagine being able to give someone a little LSD, wait a little bit, then go through a therapy session with them, and you might be getting the most authentic them versus them trying to wade through these other things. Right?
You're getting them in a state of mind where they've been able to literally let go of all that emotional fucking baggage we were talking about earlier and set that shit down and just vibe.
Mm-hmm. But like,
You
find
know?
out what truly pisses you off. What do you actually think your problem is? Like, excuse me. Like, getting some truth. I mean, shit, isn't that kind of what we all want? Like, I mean, all of us are fucked up in
Right.
some way or another. Everybody's got baggage, everybody's got their own traumas and experiences. I mean, I have never been tested, but I'm fairly certain that I have OCD to some extent. I have rainbow bookcases and I'm a compulsive organizer and I have to have everything just so. And I have to like double, triple check things. Like there's tendencies there. Huh?
I have some of those tendencies too. Like, did I really lock the door? I'm going to go back and check and see if I locked the door. Oh, I did lock the door. 20 minutes later, did I lock the door?
Yeah.
Or, you know, certain things, how I'll organize them. If they're not in the spot where they belong, I'm like, I don't even know where to begin looking. And so it's one of those things where the OCD has actually become a helpful thing, because
Right.
if I'm OCD about putting something in place every time I use it, then I'll be able to find it the next fucking time I need it.
Right. I mean, it has its place and stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong. Zach hates my system of organizing, and I like everything in rainbow order. Everything that I can put in rainbow order that makes sense goes in rainbow order. My apps on my phone are in a rainbow, and Zach's like, how the fuck do you find anything on here? I'm like, I just know what color it is, so I know where it lives. Like, this makes sense in my brain, and it's my phone, so that's how I'm going to organize it. But then I took it to the bookshelves, and that took it too far. So now all of our books are in rainbow order.
Dude, straight up like Roy G. Biv.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Fucking, dude, it's a great organizational method. That, as a visually stimulated person, that makes more sense to me than even putting something alphabetically, because especially given like memory issues, I will remember what color something is before I will remember the text that is on there.
Right.
If I know the book is
think
red,
about
I
what
know
you've
to look
seen. I have the same thing. I was an art major in college, and I've always had an interest in art and color and things like that, and that is always what I remember is what color was it.
It's beautiful. Dude, I would probably just be like looking at your bookshelf, because to me that would be very visually stimulating to see all of your books lined up in rainbow order. Like,
Right?
bro, that's fucking dedication.
See, we got a rainbow bookshelf and a black, white, and gray bookshelf. This is bad. Like, but again, but then there's other systems too. So like, I do a lot of decluttering, like getting like, okay, we don't use it, it goes. Like, I don't like to keep anything. I don't want to say, God, it just sounds like a dick thing. I'm not very sentimental about shit, like items. There's very few things I could have taken besides my plants that would piss me off.
Right. Stuff is just stuff. It comes and goes. It's one thing if it's something specific that was like given to you by somebody who has since passed away. That'll have some sentimental feeling.
Yeah,
but
that's as far as it goes.
So many things I've seen a lot of people having attachment to that results in hoarding. And that's when it can become problematic. Of like, okay, there's too many things here that you're finding an emotional attachment to if you literally can't make your way through the maze.
Yep.
And you know, I've seen firsthand with a few friends how difficult that's been for them to actually take control back over. And the the most beautiful thing is seeing someone go through stuff and go, you know what? I had gotten this because it reminded me of this person. I'm going to gift them that. And start sorting through those things. One of my friends who uh, has that attachment to things that compulsively that it turned into hoarding, had a shit ton of art supplies, donated them to a local like artist troupe that was doing classes for kids, teaching them how to paint and things like that.
Yeah.
That was beautiful as she started going through that stuff and being like, you know what, here's a healthy way that I can cut back on the clutter so my life is more livable in this space, as
Right.
well as use it. Let's make use of it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's absolutely wonderful, but it it's so hard to I don't know, be able to comprehend that level of stuff. Like when I get too much stuff, I immediately start going through. I will drop it off at, a clothing drive or blanket drive or whatever the
Right.
case may be. But I have to live minimally. I live in a
Yeah, you're in a
fucking
small
motorhome.
space. Right.
Yeah. And there's been a few times over the years that I've rented a house or rented an apartment for a while and therefore ended up accumulating more stuff. Well,
Right.
when I'm done with it, I'm going to donate it. That just, you know, I don't know. Maybe it goes back to some of the stuff that I've learned from, again, Jon Brahm when it comes to being selective with what you have your attachments to.
Mm-hmm.
And living minimally, because that is literally less stress on you. The more shit you have, the more you have to take care of. The more shit you have to clean.
Right. No, that's so true though.
know?
Like, I mean, I a few years ago I had learned about like capsule wardrobes, and ever since I did it, it has completely changed my life because I don't constantly shop. I have my pieces. Everything matches with everything out. Things are easily interchangeable and it saves me time. And like when COVID had started to occur and like grocery shopping and stuff as like online order pickup, it was another huge game changer for me. I, for one, hate the grocery store, but it's another thing that saves me time. And that's like my life struggle is like, well, I don't even necessarily want to say struggle, but like time is really important because to me, it's like the best thing you can give someone. But also, like, if someone's going
Mhm.
to take time away from me, it's hurtful on a level that it shouldn't be. But it's just one of those things that I've always been really hypersensitive to. Because, like, my grandparents are like, the best thing you can do is just spend time. Just spend time with someone. Just give them an hour. Give them whatever you can. Because, like, that shows them that you care. You want to be
Yes.
around them. Like, so that's like
Yes.
beaten into my brain. So it's like if I can save time doing shit I don't, not doing shit I don't care about and have more time to do the things that I do care about, it makes my life a lot better.
That. That. And it also, again, brings the Jon Brahm to mind, because another thing he said in one of the episodes I watched yesterday was he had posed this question to a group of, who's the most important person in the world? And everybody was throwing their hands up with various answers. A Christian person said Jesus. A Buddhist person said the Buddha. Another person said, well, I mean, yourself,
Uh,
if it really comes down to it. And he was like, no, you're all wrong. And he said, the most important person in the world is whoever is right in front of you at that moment.
mm-hmm.
That you hold space for them, that you engage with them, that you share of that time with them, because that is the most important thing you can do. Why are we here? What is the purpose of life? Connection. Fucking
Right.
connection.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to the self-care, it does apply to self, because at the end of your day, after you're done interacting with all of the people who you cross paths through life with, and individually are each, in that moment of time you're dedicating to them, they're in that moment the most important person in the world to you. Well, at the end of the day, even if your partner is next to you in bed, guess what? When you go to sleep, you were with yourself. Guess who is the most important person in the world at that moment when you are with yourself? You.
Right.
Which is also the importance of meditation and taking that time to actually live life and just be.
Mm-hmm.
You have to
Right.
remember that sometimes you have to be the most important person in the world to yourself too.
Right.
It's just only in those
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I was going to say, heck, even when you're getting ready for bed, right? You're brushing your teeth, you're in front of the mirror, that's the person who's in front of you is you. Like,
Yeah. Yes.
yeah.
And it's in those moments where, um he was getting to a point about, a previous story that he'd been telling of, like, basically at the end of the day, it's you that has to live with yourself and love yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That if you're expecting any religion or spiritual path to make you into a better person, then you've already got it all wrong.
Right.
You're supposed to learn how to better love and accept yourself, treat yourself with kindness and respect and regard. Because when you do that, what else are you going to be putting out into the world then when you're interacting with other people? Giving them your best,
Mm-hmm.
showing them their best.
Right. Putting the good back into the world. Seems pretty simple. But gosh, that, like, kindness
Seems
thing
to be.
is so... People downplay that so much, though. Like, oh, that's a child's thing. And they're like, no, it's not. Because I get, like, for me, I was always someone back when I was single in the pre-Zach life. I would watch how people would interact with animals, with wait staff, anyone who was serving them or us. It was like, how is this person treating them? And that could flip the switch for me so fast because it'd just be like, ugh. Like, you don't even know this person. You're being totally rude to them. How are you going to treat me when you know me better? Like, nope.
Right.
I'm out.
And the thing is, oftentimes when you see people carrying on like that, it's because they've failed to take that time. Whether it be because of capitalism keeping so much of our time fucking engaged in just justifying our fucking existence and trying to survive, whatever the case may be, it might not even be, a personal choice. It might literally be you are being worked to fucking death and you are at the end of your fucking rope. But if you are not taking that time to actually just let go of life's shit, to just exist, to go outside and enjoy just sitting in peace and quiet in nature, to just calm the fuck down, then what do you end up doing yourself? The worst of yourself. You get angry, you get frustrated.
Right.
What are you giving the world around you? Your anger and frustration.
Mm-hmm.
I saw this happen 2 weeks ago. I had walked into a Burger King to grab a fucking sandwich because I was to the point of hangry and was
Mm-hmm.
on my way into the grocery store. They just happened to be in the same parking lot, and I'm like, I should eat before I go in there.
Yeah, because then you buy stuff that you shouldn't. When you go to the grocery store
right.
hungry, you always end up buying.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty good about, just stocking up on what I know I'll need till the next grocery trip 2 weeks later. I don't like going shopping, so I try to stock
Avoid
everything
it.
up proper. But just the, being to the point of hangry, didn't want to go through the store all fucking curmudgeonly and bitchy and fucking hungry the whole time, So
Right.
I go into Burger King, and I'm standing there talking to the guy ordering my food, and there's a couple other people who are just waiting for theirs to get done, and somebody else wanders in behind me in line, and this lady who, had already gotten her food but was grabbing her drinks and stuff, went to grab condiments, and ketchup was out. And she turns around and starts screaming at the guy. And, like, Exactly. The look on your face, like, whoa. Like, she went the fuck off about what? You can't do your fucking job. The ketchup's empty, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, oh, the pump needs to be filled. Okay, well, here you go, ma'am. Here's some ketchup packets. You know, he grabs them from
Yeah.
under the counter and gives them to her. And he's trying to be as polite as possible as this bitch is ripping him a new asshole. And he's like, it's not the end of the world. It's okay. Here's some ketchup.
Right.
And she's still going. And I was like, you need to fucking stop right the fuck now, because you don't have any right to speak to him or anybody else working here like that. Whatever
Right.
your fucking big day is about right now, it isn't anything he did.
Right.
So, knock the fuck off. Do you not see that these people are slammed? There's a line, two fucking lines going around the building and out the other side of the parking lot outside. Plus
Right.
all of you already in here. They're fucking slammed. You don't get to go off on them because the ketchup pump isn't filled. You got your ketchup. Go eat your food, you know?
Yeah, like shut up and
just
sit down.
leave it. Right.
Ugh.
That angers me to see people getting verbally abused at work. And I'm just like, hell no. And I mean, the guy just kind of smiled a little bit, you know, like thanks, you know, like just the look on his face is saying that, like, thanks for having my back, you know. And I was just like, that shit's not okay. It's not okay. You ain't here for that. You sure as fuck don't get paid enough for that.
Right?
You're not her verbal punching bag, you know. And he was just like, I know, I can't yell at a customer for
Right, because
them
he'd lose
like
his
that. I
job.
was like, but I can.
I love that. I love that
I'm
so
just a
much.
customer. Like, she went over to her table with the dude she was with, sat down, shut the fuck up, though, you know? It's like, you don't verbally abuse people like that.
Right?
You know, there's nothing they can do about the fact that they are so slammed in the middle of lunch rush that
Yeah.
nobody's filled a plate.
Also,
Say thank you for the ketchup packets and go eat your food.
right. Also, it's lunch rush, bitch. Like, okay. This is another thing that I do that annoys Zach very much. I'm always aware of, like, places and time of day and what I suspect might be happening at certain times of day and spaces, and I don't like to go places that I know are going to be super duper busy or total shit show. I would rather forego it and go somewhere else where it's not as busy, or wait. But it's usually forego and go somewhere else.
Right.
Because it's just, I don't know. To me, sometimes it's just not worth it. Excuse me. Like,
especially, like, just given the stress levels of that, you know?
and
mean,
like, COVID's
shit,
still a thing.
Right. Right. Fuck, look at how much delivery services have exploded over the last couple of years. Not just because of COVID, that was part of what jump started it, but people started realizing, like, fuck, I can save myself the stress of having to go people in situations that I don't want to people in.
Right. And
You know,
saves you time
whether it
and,
be-
like,
Right. You can just make your order and schedule it for whatever time you're going to be home after work to have them deliver it, you know, fucking easy shit.
right.
Or even the curbside pickup, you know?
Oh, I'm sorry. I love Target for that. I love it, and it's always free, and that makes it that much better. I just wish they had some better grocery selection. That's all right. We make do. I mean,
Right.
gosh, and I hate rude people. Really, like, I feel like you, like, it bothers me to my core. Like, this is completely unnecessary, but also, like, you know, just being decent. I mean, you had a great time. You waited in line, you got what you wanted, had a good conversation with the person in the register. It was a good time. I think in the entire 6-7 years I've been with Zach, I think we had one shitty dining experience together. We just ended up tipping the girl and leaving because it was like, that I can't with her. I don't know what's going on, but we're leaving. Do you remember that, Zach, at the Happy Gnome? That one waitress that was so put upon because we ordered 2 beers and an order of fries. Major Tom.
He's owned that.
Yeah, he is. It's kind of fun to watch. I like to mess with him, and then I'll be like, and then I found $10, and then he'll look. Because I said I found money. Yep. I didn't find any money. Joke's on you.
Money?
Right? Where?
Although when it happens, it's great. You know?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. But then I go through my stuff so frequently that is a very rare occurrence now. The Great Purge is so good.
And you found it months later and was like, it's still, you know, nice.
Right? That's awesome.
Hell, I've had that happen with drips too, of like, oh, I forgot I had that. Yeah. They seem to come around right when they're needed, of like, hey, remember me, I'm still in your stuff here. You know, like,
yeah. It's like the universe kind of looks out for you sometimes.
Right.
And it's like,
right. Like it's time for a little bit of detoxing and, you know,
yeah,
everything.
A little life reset.
My computer is complaining to me. My computer is bitching about low signal. Sorry, I don't know what's going on.
Oh no. Computer, this is important. We're bitching about life meds and everything sucks.
Right?
Well, capitalism sucks. Really, if capitalism weren't a thing, this country would be so bitchin'.
Dude, I would love to see the day.
Right?
Fuck. It's the cause of so many of the problems. Whereas if we were to, I don't know, get back to collectively living, you know, and also having the time to even just exist and reconnect. Because, again, that is the purpose of life. That is what we are here for. It's to connect with each other, connect with everything in nature, the whole fucking 9 yards.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, if we were to, I don't know, quit having draconian laws trying to govern over natural fucking plant medicines that in most places on this continent, you can wander around outside. I could probably go find some peyote right now. If I had more daylight, it's going away right now. But, you know, things like that where, I mean, the fact that they even still try to govern over that as if that is not, for one, a historical, you know, spiritual tool for many nature-based, I want to say spiritual paths too, because it's not just religions, you know.
Right.
You don't necessarily need to have anything you're worshiping to honor nature and honor that connection. I'm a fucking atheist, but I'm a very spiritual person. You know, but to have these draconian ass laws trying to prevent people from having access to things that literally show us how we're connected. Because even like, okay, getting back to the history of psychedelics, you know, through the 50s and 60s, there was, you know, Timothy Leary and all these others starting to do this study on various psychedelics. You know, the CIA went and fucking dosed a whole bunch of people in the public without fucking telling them, no consent, nothing like that, just to see what would happen, because they wanted to know if they could use it basically as a weapon of warfare, as a mind control thing. And they found the result the opposite, that people became more aware, more connected with what's happening around them, with those who are around them, the whole 9 yards. And they went, oh shit. And that's a big part of why these things got banned as Schedule 1 fucking drugs, is because they were like, we can't have people waking up and seeing through our propaganda, seeing through our bullshit. We need people fucking placated. We need their pituitary gland as non-functional as possible. And these things stimulate function of the pituitary gland, the seat of consciousness. So we are going to make these illegal, and we're going to start putting fluoride in the fucking water. And that's the thing. Like, I've seen a lot of this for various reasons. And I can tell you, just from what I learned about fluoride poisoning in pathology courses, like, that legit is a problem. It is. It calcifies your pineal gland and makes you more easily subdued. It's very toxic. It makes you so open to suggestion that, I mean, somebody could permanently fucking gaslight you, wouldn't know.
That's horrible.
Yeah. It's like they're trying to steer us away from consciousness and just into, like, and fucking barely wandering your way through your day enough to fucking serve their purposes as,
Right.
breeding chattel or wage slaves. It's fucking ridiculous, like, we are, even going back to stoned ape theory of part of our evolution in becoming such intelligent beings and having ability to verbally communicate, not just grunts and fucking body language, is psychedelics. Literally, our ancestors, pre-human ancestors, who were going around and eating a fuck ton of psychedelic plants, and this stimulated growth in the brain and development of new neural pathways that literally kicked forth a huge part of our evolution and made us as aware as we are now to even be the beings that we are now and as sentient as we are now. And it's like, these are things that help to keep that growing. This would be readily accessible for the better good of society itself.
Right? Because it's like connectivity, human connection, being creative, and meditating. I feel like these are all common threads, like, in the fucking decade I've had working with kids. Like, these are all things that kids need to be aware of. Like, they need a creative outlet, they need to connect with other people, whether it's their age or not. Like, I don't know. People get really hung up on, like, oh, they're fifth grader, but they hang out with second graders. Well, if that's who they connect with, if that's who they level with, then why the fuck do you care? Because they're still hanging out with someone.
Right.
They're not, like, totally isolated. Sometimes I kind of wonder about, like, all these alphabet soup childhood disorders. Sometimes I wonder if, like, autism is the way of the future.
Right, because so many facets of it I look at as really being superpowers.
Yeah.
No,
it's so true. And, like, people, like, I hate Autism Speaks because they say it's a disease, and the way that they, like, did commercials and stuff like that was horrible. Like, they're saying, oh, you have a disease and you're never gonna get better. It's like, no, it's a neurodivergent way of thinking. How can you do that to a kid like that? Like, oh, it just grosses me out.
People don't think about how their words are landing like that, for fuck's sake, it's one of those things where they're literally putting a greater emotional distance between themselves and those kids in that moment. And that's the opposite of what is needed for anybody, for everybody. Human connection is important from day one. They've even done really fucked up studies that have followed, kids who were, put into homes from birth and basically didn't get any, hugging, rocking, cradling, any of
like Russian orphanages and things like that.
Yeah. And it's like, we can already see just from the difference between kids that were in these programs versus, kids being raised in healthy environments at home with loving parents who, showed them affection, we see a world of difference in their functionality. Even
Mhm.
same thing applies if you have parents who are emotionally distant too. You see the same type of damage happen. Um, it all comes back to that connection factor. And you can't go through life putting distances between yourself and others, and especially children like that, to make them feel like they cannot connect with you because they feel
Right.
like they're being judged by you.
Right. Like
Like,
it blows my mind. Like when I walk into a situation with any of the kiddos, like I have this stupid key card thing that I have with like my badge and my CPI certification, but it also has like this emotion grid, and there's a green chunk, a red chunk, a yellow chunk, and a blue chunk. Ideally, we want to be green because green is like happy, calm, focused, ready to learn. Yellow is like silly, distracted. We might be moving into the red zone, and red zone's like angry, dangerous, pissed off. And then blue's like sick, sad, tired. So like we do a good job at like identifying this. We're like, wow, I felt that way yesterday.
right,
Almost immediately shifts their brain just to hear that you have the same fucking experience as they do as an adult, and it validates that feeling, and it's the empathy thing. People need it. I don't care if they're ASD, EBD, schizophrenic, ODD. I don't give a shit. They need to hear that everybody has the same damn feelings, whether it's the same
right,
feelings all the time or just sometimes. They just need the connection.
right. That's why it's so important to even be able to talk, like, especially with others who have the same type of conditions. It that validation, that understanding of, because okay, like your color chart there, that's beautiful. That is something that literally every fucking human being ever can identify with and be like, yeah, this is where I'm at today.
Mm-hmm.
And the same applies when you get down to, okay, autistic kids having each other around, to be able to connect with and understand each other. There's ways they're going to understand each other better than someone who is not autistic. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but even down to like the specific type of PTSD that I have, I've found the best therapy is talking with my friends who also have this same type of PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
Even though our experiences might be different, there might be, just some areas where they overlap, our triggers are different, whatever the case may be, the understanding is still there, even when just holding that space for each other and talking to each other about what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Of, these levels of connection with each other. This is what the fuck life is about, when we connect and validate and actually hold that space. That's such an affirming thing, especially when it's a kid who is, potentially dealing with a lot of internal stress and pressure, feeling like they don't fit in for this reason, that reason, or another. And it's like, no, I can relate. We have that in common.
Right. Yeah. And like another thing I like about this little bracelet thing too is like I always try to tell them, you might not be in just one. You might be in two.
Right.
I'm like most of the time I'm in two boxes. I'm usually sick, but I'm okay. I'm ready to be here. I'm tired.
Right.
but I'm happy. I could go for a nap.
Right. Right. We are multifaceted beings.
Right.
And, so none of us are ever going to fit into any, one given box or another.
Mm-hmm.
It's always going to be multiple. And,
Yeah.
everything that happens throughout your day is going to affect that.
Yeah. And it's normal to change too. That's another thing that's like it's okay to change. It's okay to change your opinion. It's okay to change your mind. It's okay to step away.
Right. Like, those are very valid responses that are actually healthy coping mechanisms. Like, if you feel like you need some space for a minute, guess what? That means you literally do need some
Yeah.
space for a minute to just to separate yourself from a situation, to think about what you're wanting to do, whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
Take the space, you
So
know?
I feel like adults, especially the like take a space or step away thing, that one gets tricky. I feel like because it's not always well received by other adults. Like you should like sometimes I'm gonna be like, you need to be okay that this person just walked out of the room right now because you weren't hearing them
Right.
when they wanted to be heard. So in order to de-escalate the situation, they've removed themselves. And maybe
Right.
they'll try again later. I mean,
Right.
shit, that's what I do when I get pissed at a coworker. I walk out, and her one day, a coworker's like, and you just walked away. And I'm like, yeah, because if I didn't, I'd have said something I couldn't take back. So,
Right.
like,
Right. In those
I,
moments, I find myself fighting with myself because part of me wants to be like, look, bitch.
right? I was like, I'm
And
going to
another
reach
part
over
of me
this
is
desk
like,
and,
chill out, not worth your blood pressure going up.
yep. I was like, because I can't smack you. I'm going to leave.
That. Like, if that's where we're at, I'm just going to walk away.
Yep.
And cool the fuck down. I've literally had people get ragingly fucking pissed off about that before. My psycho ex that I was telling you about, the very abusive relationship that
Yes.
I was getting out of when I discovered Buddhism.
Mm-hmm.
That motherfucker, like that was a skill that I already had in my toolbox of, if I'm that fucking angry, I'm going to walk the fuck away. Leave me alone. Don't
Right.
follow me trying to keep fucking screaming.
Right.
No. Leave
Mm-hmm.
me the fuck alone. Me walking away means leave me the fuck alone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you to follow me. Like, I don't know how this gets misinterpreted where people think that if you're walking away from them, then it's you wanting them to follow you to try to talk shit out more and make it right. And it's like, no, when I literally say leave me alone, it actually fucking does mean leave me alone. I'm not saying the
Right.
opposite of what I mean. I'm not testing you to see if you care enough to follow me and talk some more. I'm telling
Mm-hmm.
you, I'm a fucking overloaded over here, and I'm gonna go smoke a bowl and a cigarette and fuck off for a bit. you know,
Yeah.
um, it just, if it hits that point of intensity, you know, like, no, before this turns physical, I'm gonna walk the fuck away. And oftentimes he would get so enraged about that because he wanted it to get pushed to the point of physical
Oh,
altercation.
yeah.
He would start swinging because, how dare you walk away from me, motherfucker? Because that's my right.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah. And I feel like that one also runs tricky with women in particular, right? Because that, oh, yeah, I'm testing you to follow me. Like, I think
Right.
sometimes that's where we go wrong as females. Is like, no, you should do what you feel is the correct thing for you, not what society has put upon you as this is a female reaction. This is what a female does when
Right.
she's upset. Like, no, no. Let's not put it in a box. But it's also toxic to men, too, because, like, men don't cry very often, or, oh, it's very unusual to see a man crying. He must have been very upset. Like, what if you
That's
just
because
stepped
we
on
have
his
been
foot and it
shamed.
hurt?
Right. Men have been shamed out of showing any emotion besides anger. That is a problem of patriarchy. That's not a fucking actual gender attribute of men don't cry. No, men have been shamed out of it, and that's fucking horrible. And the same place in both directions and across the fucking board, that there is no personality attribute that is linked to your sex chromosomes or your genitals. That's not how shit works. Either you have a specific personality trait of how you do shit or you don't.
Uh-huh.
It's like, I've gotten that response out of people too, thinking that, because I'm bold and outspoken, that, oh, well, that's a manly trait. And it's like, no, that's just a trait. It's just a
Right.
personality trait.
This is
I
a
don't need
human thing.
to speak my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Just because society wants to pretend like you need a dick to have the space to speak your mind and exist doesn't mean I fucking agree with that.
Right.
You know?
But
Like, it's
it,
frustrating.
it is. Because it's like that toxic masculinity. And I think, there's probably toxic femininity in that too. Like, I don't.
I've seen it. Yes, there can be.
Like,
There can be, because there's some people out there who are, like, I don't know, trying to ride under the umbrella of feminism while not actually being feminists at all, because feminism is about equality and equity. It's not
mhm.
about fucking man bashing of like, I just want
Right.
to destroy you because you're a man. No,
Mhm.
no, that's not okay either. You know?
Right. It's like people get lumped, right? Like, but that's just the thing. Like, I think our society is way too interested in like labels. Like, oh, you're fat. These are fat people things. Oh, you're a woman. These are woman things. You're a man, and these are man things. It's like, how about we're people and these are people things? And
Right, right.
put your
And
label maker
especially,
away.
I always love stopping people who say those things and being like, yeah, what about everybody else? Because not everybody is a man or a woman,
Hmm.
or as you define them.
Right.
You know?
Hmm.
And then it's like, oh, you didn't think about that. Yeah, these are just people things. Because guess what? These same personality attributes apply to non-binary people, to trans
Hmm.
people. It doesn't matter what your fucking gender is. It's personality traits that, some are inherently who you are, some are things that grew out of your experiences that kind of shifted you to a certain vibe or another. This speaks about who you are, not what your skin suit is doing. We're just riding around in these, that's all.
Right.
This is our meat suit. We are horny electrified meat. That's it.
I always liked the expression we're just houseplants with more complicated emotions. We just want food, water, and sun.
Yes, pretty much. I would be so happy with just food, water, and sun.
Right?
And, well, minimal shelter to keep out of the elements when
Sure.
needed. You know,
Yeah, it's like literally snowing Dippin' Dots here.
damn.
We were coming home from work. I was like, oh, this is cool. I love Minnesota.
Uh,
Actually, I don't mind it that much. I would like a cooler climate if possible. But Zach's like, no, I want Satan's butthole of heat and sunshine.
right. Well, if you're looking for Satan's asshole, it's right here in the Phoenix Valley.
Do you hear that, Zach?
And it's opening up and it's letting the heat out. it's we're halfway through April, and it's already mostly in the 90s and shit. It'll be 120 pretty soon. Right on,
I
Blah.
love.
I didn't know you were in Satan's asshole too. Yep.
Can can I just come collect some of the cacti from Satan's asshole and then go back to my frozen hell?
As long as the dudes that patrol the BLM land don't catch you.
Okay. I won't take anything they don't allow me to take.
Fair. Yeah. Some things are protected,
Yeah,
Um,
I understand that.
but I mean, there's a lot of people around here who sell little cactuses and whatnot at the farmers markets and stuff. And I mean, you can even go into like Home Depot and actually find a decent selection of various cactuses and other succulents and stuff. Um, it's kind of fucking cool. That was one of the first places I went upon down here, was up to, I think it was a Home Depot. Rob and I went up there and we went through the whole garden section, and he was, grabbing like tomatoes and broccoli and stuff to plant in his garden out back. And I just went straight for the flowers. All these simple little flowering succulents. Like, I want all of you,
Right?
but I can have all of you. I can get a couple of little ones.
This is exactly how we shop too. He's always looking for plants that can become food, and I'm like, look at the needles on that thing. I'm gonna buy it.
Right? Right.
My mom just picked me up.
Break the door. Anybody breaks in, they're immediately gonna get cactus to the face. Home
Right?
protect.
Yeah. Who needs Apple home security? You need a cactus in the face.
Yup.
I
Hell
mean,
yeah.
if it works, it works.
Right?
Zach, that's what we're gonna do when we get a house. We're gonna have a cacti home security system.
You definitely would have to move to Satan's asshole to have any outside, though.
Yeah, that's okay. I don't mind all mine inside.
Hell yeah.
Makes my yoga experience much more.
Right?
Let's call it Instagrammable.
Oh, goodness.
Even though I like very rarely ever will take pictures during yoga. I was like, I'm very sweaty and nobody needs to see it.
I saw your post of, I
What,
can't
eagle?
remember the eagle. Yes.
Yeah.
And it was like, dude, let me try that.
It's so hard because you're like crossing in 4 places on your body, twice on your legs and twice on your arms. So it's really difficult to like get there.
It's like, excuse me while I pretzel myself.
Right? Zach actually taught me how to do the arm part of it because I could not figure out. I'm like, how does this work? I'm like, I'm doing it. Like, you do nothing.
Right. This ain't it. That's
Right.
just, how you hold your balance in tree pose.
Right. But it's been such an enjoyable practice. Like, and I love that there's meditation in it too. Well, at least the ones that I do. There's meditation at the end. Helps me check 2 boxes. Again,
Right.
efficiency.
Well, not only that, of treating the whole body and mind and soul, because that self-care needs to incorporate all of that. All of it. Dude, it's one thing I really love about yoga. I started doing yoga because of fucking up my back. It was one of the things that my physical therapist taught me. She taught me yoga and Pilates. Like, here, these are ways that you can actually improve your mobility and strengthen the muscles there so that you can function. And so I started doing it and realized, wait a minute, I'm getting into a meditative state here. This is so relaxing in other ways too. Like, yeah, my body's working hard of like even using its own, gravity resistance there, to work muscle groups. But it was very centering because of just, even getting into those poses, like closing my eyes and just trying to align right in these poses, like you really have to pause, and just be for a minute in order to allow your skin suit to actually do some of these moves and relax into them.
Right. And like just the reminder of the breath. Like when to take the breath and then it's okay to hold it. And my favorite part as an asthmatic, that it's okay to make noise when you breathe. I always felt really self-conscious about that until I started yoga, and I was like, wait, it's okay that I make noise when I breathe, and I should, and that's fine. Like, it's okay. But isn't yoga amazing for your back? Holy shit. Because I used to have, I hadn't had to the point of seeking medical care for it, but like a lot of tension in my lower back, and it's really helped alleviate so much. Especially like, I don't remember the name of the pose, but it's like you're in child's pose with the legs, but then like you're stretching your body to one corner of the mat, and then you're walking your hands over to the other side. Oh, so good. Such a deep stretch too. It just kind of makes you like connect to your body and reminds you like of all these tiny muscles in there that do so much every day, and you don't think about them. You don't like focus on that. And it also like, I don't know, when I do yoga, I don't feel any of the pain that I felt when I wasn't. You know what I mean? Like if I had pain in my body earlier that day and then I do my yoga practice, that pain goes away in my practice.
Because it's aligning your spine, it's stretching those muscles out and getting them to remember the difference between contracting and releasing, which is so fucking key, especially if you hold all of your stress in your shoulders like I do, or your lower back gets fucking tense from being on your feet, crouching, at work. Like in your
Mhm.
case, you're probably kneeling down a lot to talk to the kids.
Oh
You're,
yeah.
crouching down next
I'm
to
a
your desk, things like that.
yeah.
um, and and so to be able to do that stuff that really opens up the flexibility, especially the movie you were just talking about, that's one of the ones I do to keep my lower back functional, because that's where the herniated discs are. The bottom two discs are blown the fuck out, one to the right, one to the left, so both sciatic nerves are pinched. So doing
Ouch.
that right there, that not only helps me stretch my spine out and actually get some space there where it's not putting so much compression on those discs,
Right.
but it eases up the muscle tension there that's been overcompensating for the weakness in my spine and gets it where I can actually get my back to adjust. At this point, like when I first started doing yoga, I couldn't even trying to bend over to touch my toes wasn't fucking happening. I couldn't reach that far. I didn't have that much flexibility in the muscles because they were so full of scar tissue and tense after having back surgeries.
Right.
Um, because even before the car wreck, I'd blown them out in a slip and fall at work, had to
Mhm.
have laminectomy and discectomy, had countless fucking rounds of epidural shots to try to numb the nerves, all kinds of shit.
Oh.
And then got in the car wreck a couple of years later and blew those two discs right back the fuck. So like I wasn't just even starting back from square one. I was in the negative and had worse damage than the first time. And so it took a long time to even be able to get those muscles to ease up on that scar tissue, to break some of that up, to get the
Mhm.
muscles to relax enough. Now at this point, if I stretch, I can get all the way down, fold it in half with my palms flat on the floor. And once I do, my whole back goes pop, 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 pop.
Yes. I get that too. I can't quite
Love
get
it.
my hands flat, but like I can get very dangerously close to a split. And that's
Oh,
not
wow.
been in anything in the realm of my possibility, even as a child. I was like, no, we're
Right.
not Gumby. We are
Right.
now, but we weren't before. But it has to be like the legs out side to side like this. Whoop. Split, not one in the front, one in the back. I don't think that could ever happen.
That part I'm still working on. Nowhere near being able to do the splits. I could as a kid, in some manners, but not all. Like, I could actually do the one to the front and one to the back easier than I could out to sides. Um, I I could stand up against a wall and do the splits, like bam.
Hmm.
But all that went bye-bye with fucking my back up. um, just those muscles through my hips are still too tight to be able to do that, but they're at least a lot better than they were before doing yoga, you know?
Hmm. It's just it's amazing the healing power of that practice. Like another one for me, so like I had a DVT in my leg almost 20 years ago, which is how I found out about the genetic blood clotting because they're like, "Hey, you're like fucking 22. How are you dealing with this? This isn't right." But legs up the wall really helps me with like that lymphatic drainage. It's
Right.
like you can just feel it get better. And there's a noticeable difference for me the next day because I finally got that to cycle better than it does normally. It's so great. Just the power of these small, small things. Tiny movements and microdosing. Why is this not more of a thing? Why is there not more research? I mean, I shouldn't. Yoga has a lot of research to really back it up, you know?
It does. I mean, it's very effective. That's why so many physical therapists have started to put that into use in their work too, is because, you know, you can easily help somebody do some exercises that not only are not going to hurt them in the process, but are actually going to improve their mobility, improve their flexibility, um, you know, the whole nine yards.
Hmm.
And Jelly Moon says that MAPS is a fantastic source of microdosing research. We should dig into some of that, and I'll see if I can find that Timothy Leary video that I was trying to find earlier. My apologies that I did not have time today to pull that up before the show. It didn't hit me until this afternoon when we were talking. But
no worries. I wasn't very on it either.
Yeah. Like if you would like to dive back into more on the microdosing next week, and we can do a part 2 of this. Hell, we can do up part 3, part 4. I don't care. There is so much that we can talk about here, and especially how it ties in with all of these other practices that we're talking about that come back to self-care and mindfulness, our connection. We have to remember to connect with ourselves and with others. And they're all beautiful pets to that point.
And like creative outlets too. It's such a thing. It's so slight segue on the creativity thing, but when I was in college working at my arts degree, towards the end I had a bunch of med students in my classes, and I'm like, what the fuck is Dr. Dumbass doing in my class with me right now? This doesn't make any sense. But then when I talked to one of Dr. Dumbass's, they told me that this is to help them work on their empathy and their listening to patient skills, because they didn't want all these fucking doctors to graduate that didn't know how to talk to people or how to listen.
Yeah.
Or how to read situations. But it was funny as fuck, though, because all those damn doctor students could memorize dates and periods like nobody's business. I'm like, I can't fucking tell you anything about that, but I can tell you what this means. And I can tell you these colors and these shapes and these patterns have significance because of XYZ.
Right. It's different types of understanding that when brought together, you can see more of the whole picture there.
Right?
But honestly, like, I mean, it's about fucking time they started doing something to teach doctors about the care factor. I've complained for many years about healthcare doesn't deserve to have the word care in it anymore.
Right.
Because they're not even really trying to cure. They're just trying to treat and not caring. And it makes me think of Patch Adams. And it's like, okay, how many decades have we known of his story of trying to get other doctors to understand you can't just treat the disease, you have to treat the whole person.
Right.
Get with the program, people. So many doctors still don't have a firm grasp on that. Fuck, man, the world would be so much better if they did. If people were actually listened to about, their own bodies. It's like, excuse me, I'm here to tell you what's going on with my skin suit.
Yeah. I mean, they should just call it treatment. Right. Fuck. Like, I'm going to treatment.
You really are. And they'll keep you in treatment to keep you coming back because you're a returning customer. If they kill you, you're not.
We're going to fix one thing but fuck up another. You're welcome. We're going to take your depression and make it way worse by giving you a drug that makes you more depressed. Congratulations.
Right. Here, take this pill. It'll make you suicidal.
That is just... it is something I truly, truly will never understand. How that they could even be like, this is for suicidal people, but it causes suicidal thoughts. Like, it's like, do you guys hear yourselves? Do you understand why?
Is this Operation Population Control? Fuck.
Right?
Crazy. But, I mean, hell, there's a lot of that comes into all of this that we've discussed tonight when it comes to controlling the population and not just the population growth.
Right.
Yes, James, pill checking. Yeah. Like, no, I'd rather stick with my plant medicines that I know the effects of and how they're going to fucking help me. Give my body proper nutrition. And, it's something that I am looking in the mirror right now because a lot of the shit that I've dealt with lately has a lot to do with not having taken that time for self-care, of letting
Mhm.
so much of my time get wrapped up in all the shit that's on the list that I need to do today, and not making a priority of time for myself to just be, to do my yoga, to even do some Tai Chi or anything else that helps not only with my mind and my soul, but with my body.
Mhm.
And it's a moment of like, hey, gotta check myself. So I'm so glad that you were on this same vibe of wanting to dig into mental health and spirituality and stuff too, because this is something I've been talking about with quite a few friends lately of like, well, we really need to start talking about this on the air too, because the
Mhm.
whole situation of how we exist is being left out of the equation when we're only addressing sociology and political science.
Right. But I
How
mean,
we
it's
exist.
all interlinked. It all eventually comes back together. So why not add the pieces and close the circle?
Yes. 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 If we're
And
going to
and
heal the fucking world, we have to heal the individuals in it.
right,
That
give
means we
them
have to heal
space.
ourselves.
Yeah. Give people spaces. Let people go to therapy. Make therapy free. Take care of those social workers that are taking care of those people. Coloring books, microdosing, heroic dosing, whatever gets you
Yep.
there, the safest way that is comfortable for you.
Yes. Yes.
And do it safely.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Avoid
all
that
we
long
want.
list that James just popped up. Like, diarrhea,
Make
vomiting, headache, nausea, dryness, wetness, thirst, dehydration, vivid dreams, no dreams.
Yep.
It's like, how many polar opposites is this going to tear me between?
Right? You may
Fuck.
die, you may not be dead. We don't know.
Hell yeah.
Like, I hate it when I see those like side effect lists. Like, I'm really apprehensive to have anything that has too many like dryness, wetness, like too many contradicting things. It's just like, could we
Right.
not? Could we pass on that?
Right.
That's
Like
too scary.
if I don't know what to anticipate because there's polar opposites listed, I don't wanna. I don't wanna.
Right?
I'm good.
Which is like, for me, the COVID vaccine, like, I was a little nervous because I heard about the clotting stuff with some versions. So I'm like, I do this naturally. I don't need help. So I was a
Right.
little more mindful, took a little more time before I decided to take it. But at least that list of side effects was very concrete. Headache,
Yes.
nausea. Like,
Right.
if if any of these three things happens, you need to like, stop there and report to your physician. Like, okay, this is very cut and dry, very reasonable. It's also
Right.
like teaching my body to do what it may not normally think to do, but it can do on its own. Like, this makes
Mhm.
sense.
I did the same thing when trying to figure out which would be the safest one to take, looked into the
Mhm.
research,
Right?
and went with Moderna. Like, okay, this has the highest efficacy rate. This has
Mm-hmm.
the least side effects. I'll go with that one. you
Yeah.
know, um, and a lot of people were getting conflicting reports because they're pulling shit from various news sources. And so
Mm-hmm.
as I was digging through medical journals for all of this stuff, I was going around sharing this out, like, here's the abstract on each of these, and here's the data, take a look at it, don't take my word for it, read it, take a look at the
Mm-hmm.
data and see which one would be the best option for you given your own health, and go from there.
Right. Because it's not like treatment is not always a one size fits all situation.
Right.
Like, crap. I mean, think about people that are diabetics. They require different amounts of insulin. Some that are type 2 don't require any insulin at all, and they can just get by on metformin or a combination of metformin and a non insulin. But it's like,
Right.
again,
It
getting
has to be
people involved.
personalized.
Right.
Everyone's skin suit is different. Everyone's body chemistry is different. That's why, like, even when it comes down to psychedelics, they're not necessarily for everyone. There are some people out there who don't respond well to psychedelics given other factors with their neurochemistry. And that's okay. But for those of us who can, these happen to be really healing. You
Right.
know, far more healing than a lot of psych meds that are being produced by big pharma. You know, but that's because these are plants. They are as nature created them,
Right.
which is conducive to working with our skin suits.
And also, like, those people, though, that may react poorly to those LSD and things like that, like, they should be able to try them under safe circumstances. Like, whomever they're working with for their mental health, which might have led them down this path, like,
Right.
maybe they're provided a safe space, like, hey, let's try it for the first time. And we'll monitor you if that makes you feel safer about this experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
While you enjoy or not enjoy, and then we won't do that again. We'll pick something else. But we have
Right.
choices. We have options. Or maybe this one works really great for you. Maybe LSD's fantastic for you, but you need to stay the hell away from peyote. Like,
Right. And that is a factor with some people. They you know, some will do better on psilocybin mushrooms than with acid, etc. It just depends on what chemical it is, how it interacts. And again, going back to every one of these plant medicines has its own purpose. You know, like with ayahuasca, that is the grandmother. And, you know, she'll check you on your shit because grandma's kind of stern. And will be like, what are you doing, baby? You know?
right.
San Pedro is grandfather, which is very, um, very much a comforting vibe. But also, like, there are many lessons here to be learned, and I'm going to be teaching them to you for the next few months after this experience. So it's a whole different. Um, every one of them has a specific goal in mind, and that's something too that a lot of people don't even realize when starting out with mushrooms is. It's not for chasing pretty lights. It's not a fucking party drug. Its
Right.
purpose is to show you your shit so you can come correct on your shit so that you can fix these issues. It will bring them to light and make you face them. People call that a bad trip, and I'm like, that's the goal, baby. That's the
Right.
goal. That's what you should be going into this with, the frame of mind of understanding. I am here to learn. So mushrooms, please guide me.
Right.
You know?
Like, you should go on your trip and bring your journal because you're going to need to write this down.
If you can't handle writing in a journal, grab a voice recorder. Give yourself notes. You know, of
That's
like,
actually,
I'm having.
that's actually a really good idea. I personally detest writing. I wish that I liked it. It is not my gift. I hate it.
Honestly, I don't think I would want to be staring down at a pen and paper to write things down while in that experience. I would still want to be looking at all of the beauty around me. And it's much easier to just grab a recorder and, you know, say what you need to say. But on that note, I'm sorry, I do have to take off here. I've
No
only got
problem.
left before I have to be over in the other re-record room for tomorrow night's current events.
Cool.
So I am very much looking forward to continuing this conversation next week. I will make note of it over the weekend to pull some of this research and have a few videos ready to share too. This has been fucking awesome.
This is great. I love it. Thank you so much. It's been a very, very enlightening last few days for me, and I love it so much.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm fucking loving this. I'm loving getting to know you through all of this too. And you're fucking dope.
So are you. You've taught me so many cool things. I'm learning so much. I wish I didn't have the kind of job that I had sometimes. I'd like to be able to have the experiences we're discussing instead of just talking about them.
I'm just
Someday.
saying, when you have summers off from working at the school, if you happen to take a trip to South America, where there are actually a lot of places you can go and get the shamanic leadership and guidance through these experiences, those can be very beautiful and healing. Take the opportunity. As far as here in the States, there are a few places that you can go to where you have legal access. One of them is right here in Arizona, the Church of the Peyote Way. And, they do, participate in ceremony for the healing, for the learning, the whole 9 yards, come to it from a proper approach. There's a few states that right now are deregulating all of the psychedelic plants. Like, I think Oregon is one of them. Don't quote me on it. I'm sure I'd have to look it up. I got a Swiss cheese memory. But I think they already have I can't talk, or are about to decriminalize like psilocybin and, peyote, other things like that. So at least people are waking up to it and paying attention to the research and going, you know what, this has beneficial uses. This shouldn't be scheduled like this.
Right.
These are important psychological and spiritual tools.
Right. I mean, shit. Look at how much stuff they found out about, like, marijuana.
Right.
For folks. Like,
for so many decades was demonized for no fucking reason until people really started listening to the research. Like, no, this actually is a beneficial thing.
Right. And far less damaging than alcohol. Like, why wouldn't you let people just...
Dude, the fact that there are even still states that have not passed even medical, let alone recreational.
I don't want to talk about where I live.
I understand. I wouldn't want to either if I lived there, and I'm from not far from there in Michigan.
I know.
It was a battle. It was a battle. I tell you what. I mean, it's still a fucking battle, but we can get into that more later.
Right.
As for now, I do have to bid you adieu and good night, and I'm very much looking forward to doing more of this. This is fucking dope.
Toodles, hugs. I'll catch up with you later. We'll plan for next time.
Hell yes. Hugs in return, and I'll probably talk to you tomorrow.
All right, sounds good. And for the rest of our viewers, have a wonderful evening. Thanks for tuning in. If there's any topics you're interested in, shoot them to us in the chat, because I want to take inventory and share.
Hell yes. Thank you, all of you, for joining us tonight. This has been a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Blot loves. Yep. See?
I knew it. You don't know. Head Theory's a hit.
Indeed. Right off the bat. Thank you, James.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jelly Moon.
You guys are so kind.
Thank you, Wolf, if you're still here too.
Yes, he was so adamant about it not happening. It kind of hurt my feelings.
Like, hey, it's sticking with the theme, man. I dig it.
Right? Gotta stay on brand if we're gonna go under his label.
Right, we're using his channel. Much love, everyone. Have a good night.
Good night, folks.
We'll see
Take care.
Back here next week. Same place, same time.
All right. Awesome. Adios.